When I played The Dagger of Amon-Ra for the first time in 1992, it hooked me. The characters, the atmosphere, getting lost in the spooky Leyendecker Museum, tripping over corpses. I loved it. And then, at the end, the game threw this at me.
Who murdered Dr.
I guess it's...
Who murdered...
No, wait.
Who murdered? Who actually stole? Who was the woman? Who was the man?
I had failed. Even after reading through the official hint book, I felt like there was something I missed. Something beneath the surface of those gorgeous VGA pixels. And boy, was I right. I've been on a journey to uncover everything about this game. The hidden dialogue, the bugs, and just how unfair that ending really is. It's so bad, I do not think it is possible to solve the mystery on your first playthrough. But I'm also going to explain why, in spite of that, I love this beautiful mess of a game. So grab your ticket, and let's explore Sierra Online's murder mystery adventure, The Dagger of Amon-Ra. The Dagger of Amon-Ra is a sequel to The Colonel's Bequest. In that game, released in 1989, journalism student Laura Bow solved a series of murders on a spooky southern plantation. Dagger followed in 1992 with upgrades to the graphics and user interface. It initially released on floppy disks. A CD version that came out a year later added voice acting. So when you hear the rough sound quality, keep in mind that this was state-of-the-art for 1993.
It's you, Laura Bow, fresh out of college and already working for a great metropolitan newspaper.
Laura is now a journalism graduate and has landed a newspaper job in New York City. Her first assignment? Report on the theft of the Dagger of Amon-Ra, a priceless Egyptian artifact stolen from the Leyendecker Museum. But the story alone isn't enough for Laura. We need to solve the mystery. The game plays out over 6 acts. In Act 1, we get our bearings in 1926 New York and find a way into a formal party at the Leyendecker. A lot of what we learn from the police or criminal contacts seems minor at first, but those early clues become vital later. In Act 2, we meet our full cast and start interrogating suspects. Who stole the dagger? Was it Wolf Heimlich, the security guard, who was conveniently alone the night of the theft? Was it Dr. Tut Smith, the Egyptologist insisting the dagger should be returned to its homeland? Or maybe the Countess Lavinia Waldorf Carleton, married to the museum's president for just 2 months before his sudden death? The dagger theft takes a back seat, though, when one of our cast is found dead. Laura and the other guests are locked inside the creepy museum. An incompetent police detective examines the scene, while Laura investigates the murder on her own. But as the bodies pile up, the pool of murder suspects dwindles. And eventually, she finds that her own life is on the line. So, let's untangle this mystery together. Along the way, we'll dig into the minutiae of the game, the little details that people miss, and where even the game designers can misstep. As for you, dear viewer, see if you can solve the mystery yourself. It's no fun if I do all the work. Let's get going. The introduction opens with a moody screen of an ocean liner steaming across the Atlantic. The game wastes no time in giving us our first victim. Once the ship arrives in New York, we meet Tut Smith and Pippin Carter. Carter is an English archaeologist who recently discovered the Dagger of Amon-Ra, an Egyptian artifact. Tut Smith, from the Museum of Cairo, wants the dagger returned to its homeland, but Carter is having none of it.
Stay out of my way, or I'll thrash you within an inch of your life.
Mr. Carter, there are some who would rather fight back than allow their country to be stripped of its national treasures.
Next down the ramp is Dr. Archibald Carrington III. Carrington has recently taken over at New York's Leyendecker Museum following the death of its previous president. Steve Dorian, a dock worker, pushes Carrington's steamer trunk and remarks,
"It sure is heavy, Mr. Carrington. You got gold bars in here or something?"
A week later, in New Orleans, we meet our protagonist, Laura Bow, and her father, John. John has used his connections to get Laura a job at the New York Daily Register News-Tribune, New York's second most popular newspaper. This is Laura's big break. After a long train ride, Laura arrives, promptly has her luggage stolen, and gets mugged.
Welcome to New York, kid.
Laura, ever the optimist, is unperturbed.
I'm not gonna let a little bad luck ruin my day. Hello, New York. Laura Bow has arrived.
But Sam Augustini, head of the newspaper, isn't so upbeat.
Think you can handle being a reporter for a big city paper?
I'll do my best, sir.
We usually just hire men for this job. It's rough out there, and you're kinda small.
I can do it, Mr. Augustini. Just give me a chance.
Sam assigns Laura to write about the theft of the dagger of Amun-Ra from the Leyendecker Museum. There's a museum fundraiser tonight, which will give us a chance to score some interviews.
Have the story ready by 3 tomorrow, or you're out of a job.
After that threatening conversation, we're thrown into the newsroom and the start of Act 1.
Laura Baines, right?
Laura Bow, sir. And I believe you have the advantage.
This is Crodfaller T. Rhubarb. He's mostly friendly, though he has a bit of a chip on his shoulder. The Leyendecker burglary story was originally assigned to him.
Yes, I'd started work on the story, but it's not your fault that it's been reassigned. That's just something I'll have to take up with Sam.
Crodfaller offers us a desk, and we have a seat. The desk drawer is locked, and the key is hidden under one of the corners of the blotter. Inside the desk drawer, we find
A press pass. It reads, Press. Your pants while you wait. Low-Fats Chinese Laundry, 5858 Broadway Avenue, New York.
Oh, this is what we call a press pass. Very useful. We ran out of official press passes. This is a business card for low fats, but if you wave it in front of a cabbie, he'll take you where you want to go.
we also find something in the wastepaper basket.
This baseball has been autographed by Bob Ruth, Babe's unknown younger brother. Bob never made it out of the minor leagues because he was incapable of violence and therefore would not harm a baseball by hitting it with a bat. Bob eventually quit baseball and became a successful psychiatrist.
The game is full of this kind of stuff, where it takes a grain of historical truth and turns it into something completely silly. In addition to the press pass and the baseball, we also have Crodfaller's notebook, which already has some notes about the burglary. There are 2 talk icons in the game, one for chit-chatting and the other for asking about specific topics. When you interrogate somebody, the notebook opens up and you need to select a topic. I really like the art here and the idea is cool, but the user interface is really cumbersome. All right, look at how many clicks we have to do anything. So you click on them once, that's 1 click. And let's say we had to choose a category, so that's 2. And then as the game goes on, you get multiple pages of stuff. We're not there yet, but you may have to click to get to like another page. You click on the thing that you want. This is 3 now, 3 clicks on the thing that you want to ask about. And now what do? You have to exit the screen to confirm your choice. So you have to select the exit icon either by going up here or by right-clicking. That's 4. And then left-clicking to confirm that you actually want to exit. So to ask anything, you have to click at least 5 times. Every single time. So, here's what we learned from questioning Crodfaller. Carrington, the new president of the museum, hasn't been in the States long and doesn't seem on the level.
I met the museum's president, a stodgy old croaker named Archibald Carrington III. Cagey guy, didn't seem overly concerned about the dagger. Call me stupid, but I just think the guy should be more concerned about museum property vanishing. His first month on the job, too.
We also learn that the local flower shop is a cover for a speakeasy. The game takes place in 1926, right in the middle of Prohibition. Crodfaller says to talk to a criminal informant there named Ziggy. He also tells us about the police station and Detective O'Reilly, who is in charge of the dagger theft investigation. Alright, so now we've got a few leads. Sounds like a great time to walk outside and explore.
If you don't look both ways, you'll be dead in no time flat.
And the game is quite literal. To safely cross the street, you have to use the eye icon and look both ways. Across the street, we find the police station. Sergeant O'Flaherty at the front desk isn't very helpful.
Look, miss, I'm not in the mood to answer any reporters' questions.
But he does say that he hasn't had his lunch and his stomach growls, providing a clue for what we need to do later. We can also knock on this door and enter Detective O'Reilly's office. However, we're not just opening this door, we're opening up a whole can of worms. Because this is where I have to pause and explain that the Dagger of Amun-Ra relies heavily on ethnic and racial stereotypes. For instance, this is Detective Ryan Hanrahan O'Reilly. He's got red hair. His theme music sounds like this. Can you guess how he's going to be written and voice acted?
Sure and begorra, I'm Detective O'Reilly. What would you be wanting then, lass?
And this is far from the worst example. Now, on the one hand, it's impossible for any work of art to completely transcend the culture in which it was created. Expecting otherwise would be unreasonable. And we can still enjoy a game even though it has elements that we wish were handled better. On the other hand, even though these insensitive depictions were more common in 1992, that doesn't mean it was okay, even then. The most charitable thing I can say is that, looking at what's in the game and knowing the folks behind the scenes at Sierra, I don't think these portrayals were done maliciously, but they certainly haven't aged well. So, after a bit of arguing, Detective O'Reilly lets us read the burglary report.
The file on the Leyendecker Museum burglary is nothing more than a single handwritten page. It mentions only one stolen object, the Dagger of Amun-Ra. In summary, the police are baffled about the burglary at the museum at this point.
Laura asks for the rest of the report, but O'Reilly explains that he has better things to worry about.
So what if a museum loses a knife? There are people being murdered left and right in this city, dropping like flies. Cars are being stolen, booze is being smuggled into speakeasies. Pedestrians are being mugged, firebugs are burning down half the city. They're running out of grapes at the corner market, and I've got a headache.
We don't get anything else out of the detective. The desk sergeant still won't talk to us, and the only other person we can talk to in the police station is this enthusiastic file clerk.
Excuse me, sir.
Sorry, it's not my precinct.
What was that line reading? What? It's like they just gave it to... Here, you get at the booth. Yes, Roberta. Outside the police station, Laura finds a man sleeping under a newspaper. For some reason, we need to poke him, he'll roll over, and then the next time we come back on the screen, the newspaper will be on the ground. I'm not really sure of the logic behind this, it seems kind of random. The newspaper has a coupon for a free sandwich from Luigi, and across the street we find him selling corned beef sandwiches. Can you guess which ethnic stereotype we'll be relying on here?
Hot the corned beef, get you hot a corned beef sandwich.
Is that corned beef lean?
Lean of corned beef. This is the leanest corned beef in the city.
We use our coupon and acquire a corned beef sandwich.
One of Luigi's famous corned beef sandwiches It's so fresh that it makes a faint mooing sound when you squeeze it.
Now, a few things about this sandwich. First, this is the avatar of Sluicebox, a ScumVM developer who I talk about constantly in my videos, and who I have to thank for a lot of the details in this video. So if you've ever wondered what this is, it's this. Second, if you click outside the close-up, it disappears and the coupon disappears from your inventory. This may seem like a soft lock because you have no sandwich and no coupon, and you need to use the sandwich in a minute. But you can go back across the street, and magically, there's another newspaper on the ground with another coupon. The floppy version, which came out earlier than the CD version, doesn't have this problem because it doesn't remove the coupon from your inventory prematurely. Finally, I've heard some people say that if you eat the sandwich, you'll find yourself in a dead end. But if you try to feed it to Laura, the narrator explains that she's a vegetarian. Which is a cool way of not, allowing you to eat the sandwich, but at the same time, if she's a vegetarian, why does she care about whether it's lean or not? Why does that matter? We give the sandwich to the hungry desk sergeant, who opens up and will now answer our questions. We learn that the password to the local speakeasy is Charleston. We can also get conflicting impressions of Laura's vocabulary.
How conversant are you in the intricacies of Egyptology? What do you know about notebooks?
What a dumb question. I'm sorry, it just sounds like such a stupid question.
What do you know about notebooks?
Well, we've done all we can on this street corner. Time to hail a taxi.
Greetings, madam. I can motivate you to your destination if you can prove that you're a reporter or if you have American currency.
We show Rocco the press pass and select a destination from our notebook. What if we tell him to take us to the corned beef sandwich?
I'm terribly sorry, madam, but you're not making any sense. Where do you wish to be transported? To what location?
Take me to the corned beef sandwiches. Well, if we can't go to the sandwiches, I suppose we'll head to the Leyendecker Museum. We can poke around and learn more about the local flora.
It feels like a tree.
But the front doors are locked. A woven sign tells us that formal attire is required for tonight's fundraiser. Laura's outfit is pretty sharp, but not exactly party wear. We'll keep that in mind. Next, we ride to the 12th Street docks, where the ship from the opening cutscene is docked. A stevedore approaches Laura. His name is Steve Dorian, a pun on his profession. He's voiced by Josh Mandel, who also voiced King Graham in King's Quest V.
Come on, Cedric. There might be something important in here.
In the Dagger of Amun-Ra, his voice is pitched down, possibly to make him less recognizable, like they didn't want you thinking King Graham was magically in 1926. But it sounds a little ridiculous.
Good morning, miss. I'm Steve Dorian.
Actually, I got a chance to ask Josh Mandel directly about Steve's voice. And his answer was basically that Bruce Balfour, the producer, wanted it that way.
Bruce he knew in his head what he wanted Steve to sound like. And we were in the recording studio, and he kept saying to me, yeah, but do it lower. And I went as low as I possibly could. And he was saying, no, lower still. And I just couldn't. So he said, oh, that's okay. We'll fix it in post.
If you didn't already give away the corned beef sandwich, you can learn that he's allergic to them. I think.
I hate corned beef sandwiches. They make me itch.
On a more serious note, he mentions that heavy steamer trunk from the beginning of the game, saying that it smelled funny.
Mr. Carrington came in on the Andrea Doria. I remember because he had the heaviest steamer trunk I've ever lifted. And it smelled funny, too. Gave me a big tip. Then that rich lady picked him up in a taxi. He called her the Countess Waldorf Carlton.
Once you talk to Steve about the Leyendecker Museum and the fundraising party that evening, Steve excuses himself.
I thought the museum was closed today.
It is, but the party isn't till 7 o'clock tonight.
Sounds like fun. Enjoy yourself. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have to get back to work.
Even if you wanted to keep talking to him. The only other thing of interest on the docks is this crate that was formerly filled with grapes. Hope that makes Detective O'Reilly sleep a little easier. After a short taxi ride, we find ourselves in Chinatown. 3 boys sit on the sidewalk, killing ants with a magnifying glass. That magnifying glass sounds useful, so Laura trades her Bob Ruth baseball for it.
Thanks, lady. Pleasure doing business with you.
Thank you, young man.
And then we meet Low Fat.
What you looking at?
I'm not sure, really. I'm just looking for clues.
Let me know if you find any. Low fat love a good mystery. Ha ha ha.
Laura asks for any unclaimed dresses that she could wear to the formal party at the Lion Decker, but...
This not clothing store, lady. No sell unclaimed clothes. Somebody come for clothes, get very angry.
But surely there must be clothes that go unclaimed.
2 years, then unclaimed laundry go to Salvation Army.
If we ask Low Fat about the museum, we learn about several people who work there. Wolf Heimlich, the security guard, Dr. Olympia Miklos, and Yvette Delacroix, museum secretary. Their names get added to the notebook. Across the street, and yes, we still need to look both ways, we find the speakeasy. We knock on the door, and the bouncer tells Laura to scram.
Scream all you want, Toots. You're not getting into this flower shop.
Bizarrely, if we wait here 4 minutes, or if we give the bouncer our press pass, Laura meets a terrible end.
A press pass? I'll keep it for you. Now get lost. We don't want your kind around here.
In the final moments of your life, you wonder what the world is coming to these days.
Instead, if we give the secret password that we learned from the desk sergeant, we're allowed in. The speakeasy is a lively place full of life and energy.
As you touch that, you feel the broken dreams and the alcoholic haze of thousands of frenzied speakeasy patrons who have come here to drown their sorrows and shore up their illusions that tomorrow will be a better day.
Pleasant. If we talk to the bartender, Laura refuses a drink, explaining that she doesn't partake.
No, thank you, sir. I don't drink.
On the one hand, this is consistent with her character as portrayed in the previous game. On the other hand, saying that you don't drink to the bartender of an illegal speakeasy seems kind of dangerous and stupid.
What do you know about notebooks?
Ziggy, the criminal informant, is sitting at one of the tables. He won't answer our questions until we correctly identify that it was Crodfaller who sent us. Ziggy is surprisingly unhelpful.
Them is the docks at the end of 12th Street.
Yes, thank you. The 12th Street docks are indeed the docks at the end of 12th Street. Thank you very much. Some of his responses are weird, too. He knows who Low Fat is.
That's the guy who does my laundry.
But he doesn't know anything about Low Fat's laundry.
Do I look like an encyclopedia? I don't know nothing about that.
About the only thing useful we learn is that the dagger theft was supposedly an inside job. Ziggy also mentions that
there's even a high-class international con man in town, but I can't tell you who it is because he'd kill me if he found out.
Finally, he tells us about an Egyptian accountant named Ramses Najir who likes telling riddles.
Today, Ramses came in and asked me a 2-part riddle. What's the room you leave without entering? And what's the room you enter without leaving? As usual, I told him I didn't give a hoot about his silly questions, so he left.
Chew on that one for a while, will ya? Behind this door is the Women's Lounge, where we meet a flapper voiced by Jane Jensen, creator of the Gabriel Knight series.
Hiya, dollface. Looking for a good time?
We're given a choice of responses, both of which mean no. Your choice has no effect on anything in the game. I'm not sure why this is here, other than why not. Most of what the flapper says is fun, but useless.
You have a sexy voice, Toots. but I don't know what you're talking about.
Except this little bit.
You haven't seen the Countess come into the speakeasy yet, have you? I've been waiting here for hours.
The Countess?
Yeah, the Countess Lavinia Waldorf Carlton. I'm supposed to meet her here.
Unfortunately, this relationship never comes up again. Well, nothing else to do in the speakeasy except hear the song.
I want to marry an archaeologist and keep his artifacts warm. I travel with him through jungles and deserts and weather out every storm. If he wants me to, I'll burrow and dig on burials small and pebble big. Oh, I want to marry an archaeologist. What a marvelous gig.
Everyone loves the Archaeologist song. What you may not know is that the Archaeologist song is a pastiche of the Lighthouse Keeper song from A Clockwork Orange. I can't play that here for copyright reasons, but the melody and lyrics are very similar. Alright, with that done, let's hop back into the taxi and...
My goodness, has this taxi ever been cleaned?
I cleaned it out 2 years ago. You got a problem with that?
If we can hold our nose, we can dig through the mess.
Since garbage holds a certain fascination for you, you plunge your hand into the debris.
And find a laundry claim ticket. The ticket's old, but we're just in time to pick up a formal dress. Lest you think Laura's without conscience.
Actually, this isn't mine at all. I found this claim ticket just a little while ago. I'd feel badly if somebody would have come back for this.
You worry for nothing. Nobody come in for 2-year-old laundry. Lady who owned this dress probably dead by now.
You're a strange man, Mr. Fat, but I kinda like you.
With that, we change into the dress, a stunning teal, and ride off in the garbage-laden taxi to the museum and adventure. Act 1 feels like a classic Sierra adventure game of the era. We've got inventory puzzles, characters to talk to, neat locations, pixel hunts, and weird ways to die. The look both ways thing is both frustrating and hilarious, and I think that sums up the feel of this game pretty well. Here are some things that I really liked about Act 1, along with some interesting technical details. I love the Art Deco style in this game, the border around the screen in the women's lounge, for instance. But one thing people tend to notice is that parts of the background are just not there. And that can be confusing if you don't know the inspiration behind this style. To quote the spring 1992 issue of Sierra's Interaction magazine, as our discussions continued, Bill Davis, the creative director, knew instinctively which artist would fit the mood perfectly. J.C. Leyendecker. His illustrations are crisp and highly stylized, with stark and dramatic backgrounds that offset the intricately rendered characters. The museum, the Leyendecker, is named after this artist. If you ask Crodfaller about Egyptology, he gives you this bizarre bit of dialogue.
You've already proven to me you know as much about Egyptology as I do. Maybe more. I bow to your superior knowledge, Miss Bow.
So, what is he talking about? Well, the game first came out on floppy disks. The CD release, with the voice acting, came out later. And the initial floppy version had copy protection. At the beginning of Acts 1, 3, and 5, Laura had to identify some Egyptian gods and goddesses. You would find the answers to these questions in the museum guide that came in the game box. If you failed this quiz, the game wouldn't let you continue. The CD version took out the copy protection, but they left in these lines about Laura having superior knowledge about Egyptology, which no longer makes sense. And speaking of things that were taken out, the death messages in this game, like the one after Laura gets run over, don't have any voice acting. Except they do. The actor recorded the lines, the game just never plays them. So I've used some editing magic to put them back in for this video. One of the best parts of the game is the flavor text. For instance, if you look at the windows in the newsroom,
The window overlooks the street, but it's so filthy that it's impossible to see anything clearly. That is, the window is filthy, not the street. Well, the street is filthy too, but it's the filth on the window that makes the filthy street difficult to see. A woody perennial plant with one main stem or trunk which develops many branches, usually at some height above the ground, otherwise known as a tree.
I also love this.
It's a car.
She's so pissed off at you.
It's a car.
She sounds so angry.
It's a car.
You dumbass. But my favorite gag in Act 1 is Tubby, and a good number of people miss talking to him entirely. If you chat with Tubby, you learn that Laura has vision problems.
It's a nice day, isn't it?
I don't know.
Well, there's not a cloud in the sky and the sun is shining. Well, there's not a cloud in the sky and the sun is shining.
Try to give Tubby the corned beef sandwich, and he responds reasonably.
Would you like this sandwich?
Would I? Yes, ma'am. Only, my parents tell me I'm not supposed to take food from strangers.
Well, your parents sound like very sensible people.
Things go a little haywire once you start asking about things in the notebook.
I'm sorry, ma'am. My parents say I'm not allowed to talk about other people.
Did they really say that?
I don't know.
So he can't talk about, not to other people, but about other people. What about places? What can you tell me about things?
I'm not supposed to talk about places I haven't been to.
What?
Are you sure you're telling me the truth?
Yes, ma'am. My parents said so.
What the? I've never seen this before.
Say, did you hear about the burglary at the Lion Decker Museum? Pretty exciting.
Did anybody get killed?
I don't think so.
Then big deal.
And if you try to ask about things that you're carrying...
Sorry, lady. My parents say I'm not supposed to talk about anything.
They're very restrictive, aren't they?
That's kind of what I asked them, but they said no.
I didn't know this was here. Despite all the text, there's very little you have to do in this act. The gatekeeper is that formal dress.
Nice body. But where did you get those clothes? Salvation Army?
Once you have it, you can get in the taxi to the museum and the next section of the game. To get the dress, you need the claim ticket, which you find in the dirty taxi. Surprisingly, there are only 3 things you need for the dirty taxi to show up. Number 1, talk to Ziggy regardless of whether you answer his question about who sent you. You can just exit the notebook and skedaddle. Number 2, give the baseball to the kids in exchange for the magnifying glass. And number 3, visit the docks regardless of whether you speak to Steve or not.
Hi.
And that's it. Not much to it if you want to be lazy. All right, let's dig back into the plot. What have we learned so far? The dagger of Amun-Ra has been stolen from the Lion Decker Museum. Detective O'Reilly doesn't seem overly concerned about the theft, and there's almost nothing in the way of evidence. The museum's president, Archibald Carrington III, wasn't overly concerned about the dagger either. He's from England and hasn't been in the States long, having just arrived a week earlier. Dr. Pippin Carter discovered the dagger in Egypt and was quite upset about the dagger's theft. We know from the opening cutscene that Dr. Smith was angry with Carter and vowed to have the dagger returned to Egypt. So even though Laura doesn't know this yet, he's an obvious suspect. On the other hand, Ziggy, the criminal informant, says it was an inside job, at least according to rumor. Now, even though we don't know a lot, we know enough to address one of the most important questions in this game. What date is it?
great year to be alive?
My parents say it's just another lousy year like all the rest.
Laura has an entry in her notebook called 1926. You can use it to ask people some really annoying questions.
I have a feeling 1926 is going to be a great year, don't you?
Yeah? You ever try writing obituaries for a living? Hardly a jolly way to spend the year.
So it's pretty clearly 1926. But when? Let's clear out some of the evidence that doesn't fit. Rocco, the cab driver, mentions the world's first transatlantic telephone call, which didn't occur until January of 1927. This flyer references a warrant for the arrest of Al Capone, but as far as I can tell, the FBI wasn't really looking at Capone until 1929. If we ask Low Fat about Pippin Carter, he thinks we're asking about Pippi Longstocking, but the first Pippi Longstocking book wasn't published until 1945, and the first English edition didn't come out until 1950. Aside from that, everything else confirms that the game takes place in 1926. So let's take a look at the evidence and see if we can't narrow down the date. Steve mentions Henry Ford's 40-hour work week, which went into effect on May 1st, 1926. Rocco has several randomized lines of dialogue during the taxi ride. He mentions the Air Commerce Act, which was signed into law on May 20th, 1926. Also, Rocco renewed his taxi license on September 5th, 1926. So we're gradually edging closer to the end of the year. A description of the piano player in the speakeasy references Jelly Roll Morton and his Red Hot Peppers. The first recordings of the Red Hot Peppers date from mid-September 1926. We can ask Ziggy about the year as well.
I think it was a great year. I made a sawbuck on the Gene Tunney and Jack Dempsey fight in Philly.
The first fight between these two boxers was on September 23rd, 1926, at Sesquicentennial Stadium in Philadelphia. If we allow time for Ziggy to get back to New York, then the absolute earliest the game can take place is September 24th, though more likely the 25th or 26th. Steve says he thinks the Cardinals are going to win the World Series. The World Series that year took place between October 2nd and October 10th, so the absolute latest Dagger of Amon-Ra could take place is the morning of October 10th. Finally, when you tell Steve about the museum fundraiser, he says this.
I thought the museum was closed today.
According to the museum flyer that came in the game box, the only day the museum is closed is Sunday. Which means the Dagger of Amon-Ra takes place on one of 3 days: September 26th, October 3rd, or October 10th. There are a handful of other references that I'm skipping over here, but they just continue to confirm that it takes place in 1926, and they don't narrow down the time frame any further. Well, there is one more odd thing I want to talk about.
Have you read that new novel by Ernest Hemingway?
You mean The Sun Also Rises, his novel of post-war disillusion? Of course! Ernie and me go way back. He ran that book by me before it ever got published, and I told him it's a real corker.
Ernest Hemingway's The Sun Also Rises was published on October 22nd, 1926, so it would have been impossible for the characters to have read it. Except that Ziggy says he's friends with Ernie and read a pre-release version. It's almost like the writers realized the mistake, then added some extra dialogue to fix it, but Ziggy says he read it before it got published. Past tense, as if it's already been released. It's also weird that Laura would ask this in the first place if it's not out yet. My in-game explanation is just that Ziggy's lying. But that's enough stalling. Let's move to Act 2, where we learn more about our characters than we ever wanted to know. Ever. At the museum's entrance, we meet Wolf Heimlich, the chief of security.
This affair is by invitation only, Fräulein. Your papers, please.
We show Wolf our press pass, and for some reason he keeps it, promising to return it when we leave. Okay, so this is the act where we talk to people. It sounds good in theory. It's a party, everybody's mingling. What an opportunity to get to know the characters. But in practice, if you're going to be thorough, it's excruciating. There are 5 characters on this screen. I talked to every one of them, asked them every question possible, and listened fully to every line of voiced dialogue. It took an hour.
What, David? I know, it's crazy. It took that long.
And that's just the characters on this screen. So I'm only going to give you the highlights. Clues about the theft, foreshadowing of the murders, and a few lines that are just funny. And if these clues seem too straightforward, remember all of this is buried under an hour of rambling dialogue. Dr. Pippin Carter is present. He discovered the dagger of Amun-Ra and is in charge of the museum's new Egyptian Antiquities department. His accomplishments have given him a rather inflated ego.
Would you say this has been a good year for you, sir?
Well, let's see. I made the most important archaeological discovery of all time. Almost everyone on the planet knows my name, and I've clinched a curatorial job I've been after for years. Yes, I'd say it has been a rather good year.
My favorite bit is when Laura asks whether the Tutankhamun exhibit will visit New York. In case you're unaware, King Tut's tomb was discovered in real life by Howard Carter.
No, I'd hate to embarrass my relative by putting his Tutankhamun artifacts on display here. They pale by comparison to my own great discoveries, such as the dagger of Amun-Ra.
Finally, Carter reveals something surprising about Lo Fat.
He runs one of the local Chinese laundries. Pretends to be Chinese so he can get more business, but he has a terrible accent.
So, does that make this better or worse? Ziggy is at the party, and he acts like a different character. When we asked him about Detective O'Reilly at the speakeasy, he was tight-lipped.
I think he's a cop.
But at the party, he readily admits to making decent money with O'Reilly.
He really knows how to treat a mouthpiece, you know? I made some good jack working for him.
Ziggy's also a bit friskier now.
Oh, don't touch me, Toots. Thanks, Toots. Touch me again.
Ziggy also freaks out a little when you mention the Countess.
What did she say? It ain't true. Listen, that old cow couldn't keep a secret if her life depended on it. I ain't taking the rap for her anyways.
Dr. Archibald Carrington III, the museum's new president, is also here. He took over after the previous president, Sterling Waldorf Carleton, recently passed away. He seems pleased with his new position.
The Lion Decker is simply fantastic, Miss Bow. This is the opportunity of a lifetime.
But he doesn't offer us any new information. We do, however, learn from Dr. Carter that he and Carrington have some history together.
Dr. Carrington is a fine chap. Used to be in charge of the British Museum, you know. I ran into him several years ago when I visited the British Museum to consult with Dr. Butch.
They both came over on the ship from the intro, though the two never ran into each other.
Seems odd that Dr. Carrington doesn't remember me, but I almost didn't recognize him either. He's getting old after all. Looks different. Memory's probably shot as well.
Next up is Yvette Delacroix. She's the museum secretary and very French.
Dr. Carrington is my superior, so I'd rather not be saying the bad things about him.
But Yvette's defining characteristic is that, how to put this gently?
That trollop sleeps with everything that moves, and some things that don't. It's only by sheer strength of will that I've resisted her advances so far.
Now, I don't really care for his tone, but Carter's not wrong.
What kind of work did you do at the speakeasy?
I was the hostess there for a while.
With your appearance, you must have gotten a lot of tips.
I suppose you could be calling it that. I got the very big tips.
And I didn't mention this from Act 1.
Low Fat have arrangement with a vat. Laundry for free.
And what do you get in return? Is it something private?
Low Fat not one to kiss and tell. Enough said, Kay?
Or this?
Look, that was long ago and far away, okay? The room was dark and I was not married at the time. I don't know how you know about that, but I don't want to hear another word about it.
Or...
Now you keep away from Yvette. I haven't seen the girl in ages, and I don't plan to see it again, so you just let sleeping dogs lie.
And... Oh, God, let's just go through the rest of them.
Ah, Monsieur O'Reilly, he is magnifique. He is so intelligent, so confident, so... Ooh la la. We are, how do you say, the old friends.
I really haven't had much interaction with Miss Delacroix. Well, of course, she is my assistant, so I guess I should correct myself and say that I do have interaction with her.
John Bow, Dad. I do not believe I have met your father, Miss Bow, unless it was long ago and I have forgotten. I have met so many men, it is hard to keep track of them all.
Okay. I get the idea.
You should try to be more like Yvette. Men would like you more that way.
Men like me just fine the way I am.
Next in line is Ramses Najir, the museum's accountant. He's voiced by Richard Aronson, the same person who voiced Cedric the Owl from King's Quest V.
Oh, no. Oh, I'm not going in there. Can't you read the sign?
The character has a lisp for some reason.
I'm afraid I do not know Mr. Agostini. I live a very quiet life, and I do not know very many famous people.
So I don't even mind that this character has a lisp, but just the way that it's written out in a lisp is very annoying to me.
1,000 curses on that man. He defiled the tombs of my sacred ancestors for his own personal glory.
Najir doesn't really tell us much of anything interesting, and in my opinion, he's the most boring character in the game. Detective O'Reilly is here as well. In case you've forgotten, O'Reilly isn't too concerned about the dagger.
If you ask me, missy, they're blowing the whole thing out of proportion. Begorra, you'd think that something important had been stolen.
You don't consider a priceless Egyptian artifact to be important?
He's sexist, too.
Oh, you've got a little notebook. Isn't that cute? Well, if you solve the mystery of the missing letter opener, we'll make you an honorary police girl.
We also learn from Dr. Carter that Detective O'Reilly really loves grapes.
And he has the nasty habit of chewing on grapes constantly, probably to cover up the smell of the alcohol he drinks.
Remember this line from earlier?
They're running out of grapes at the corner market.
That wasn't just a throwaway joke. It turns out to be one of O'Reilly's defining characteristics. Dr. Tut Smith of the Cairo Museum has some pretty strong opinions about the dagger being taken from his home country.
Bah, the Antiquities Service is a tool of the British. If they want to steal something, they steal it, just like the ancient tomb robbers. But they will pay, just as the tomb robbers paid whenever they were caught.
That almost sounds like a threat.
I, Patash Uptut Smith, do not threaten. I merely carry out the will of the great Amun-Ra.
Next up is Dr. Olympia Miklos, the museum's curator, and my favorite character. She has a particular obsession.
Why, the Amun-Ra artifacts are a symphony, a tribute to the wonders of death. I consider myself a simple woman, just an echoing museum. A few hundred dead things, and a ferret for company, and I could be happy for the rest of my life. Dr. Carrington is a quiet one. I don't see him very often. I'm certain, however, that he must have a poetic soul.
What makes you say that, Dr. Miklos?
I have seen him walking amongst the dead in the Egyptian exhibit late at night. I cannot blame him. It's better than moonlight on headstones. Ah.
The Countess is waiting for us over on this screen. Before we get there, Yvette warns us.
Ah, the Countess. She is not what she seems, no?
What do you mean?
Her last husband, he was afraid of her. He told me. Then as I learned more, I was becoming afraid of her too. Just be trusting me, Miss Bow. Stay away from the Countess. People die when she's around.
The Countess is a patron of the arts. Her husband was Sterling Waldorf Carleton, the former and late president of the museum. When we ask her about how her year is going, she almost forgets that she's supposed to be sad about his death.
Countess, has 1926 been a good year for you?
Oh, no, dear girl. It's been absolutely horrid. My darling husband Sterling died this year, you know. I don't know what I'll do without him.
We also catch her in this lie.
Dr. Carrington, what about him? I know very little about the man.
Now that's odd. I could have sworn Mr. Dorian said that you met Dr. Carrington in a taxi when he arrived on the Andrea Doria.
Yes, so what if I did? I mean, yes, I did meet him that night. Our families are, old allies from the time of the War with Roses. I felt obliged to meet him upon his arrival. Noblesse oblige, you understand.
Whew, now that was a lot, but at least we're done talking to people. But not really. See, this act has an eavesdropping mechanic. When you walk behind a group of people, sometimes, but not always, you'll get a cutscene that looks like this. And there's nothing to indicate that you can do this, you just kind of have to stumble into it. There are 14 different eavesdropping scenes, and you have to trigger all of them to move on to the next act. I'm not going to go through all of them, just the important or amusing ones. Let's speed through. The men gossip about Yvette.
I balked when a certain French woman suggested we have a deep conversation on the back of a dinosaur, but I was pleasantly surprised by the results.
Yvette confirms her relationship with O'Reilly.
Brian, I am having the hardest of times keeping my hands off you.
O'Reilly interrogates Dr. Smith about the dagger theft.
And what were you doing when that fancy dagger was being stolen then?
Let me see. I was sleeping in my hotel room.
You don't sound too sure about that.
Najir and the Countess talk about the dagger theft.
No offense to your people, Mr. Najir, but I think there is a secret sect of Egyptian sun worshippers who have sent an envoy here to steal the dagger.
Ziggy and the Countess have a suspicious conversation.
So that's the deal, Countess.
I'd rather not talk about it right now.
Ziggy and O'Reilly chat. This further confirms that they have a working relationship.
Cops talk to stoolies all the time, and I was wondering what you're doing here.
I'm a big patron of the arts. That's the kind of high-class guy I am.
The women of the party chat about the Countess's late husband.
Sterling Waldorf Carleton was such a charming man, and so wealthy. My heart is just an empty void without him.
Yes, Sterling was such a nice man. It's too bad that he's worm food now.
Ew! I prefer to think that Sterling is still with me in spirit.
Oh, I'm sure his body is crawling with maggots by now. But if his spirit is with you, let me know because I'd love to see it.
But the Countess seems more concerned about something else.
There's an annoying problem with the estate right now. It seems Sterling was changing his will when he died, to give me more money, perhaps.
Yvette sets her sights on Dr. Carter.
The archaeology, it is such a masculine profession. Breaking into the ancient tombs with your sledgehammer, thrusting your way into the treasure chambers, touching the gold artifacts. It is also stimulating, no?
And the two make plans to meet at 3 a.m. Carter and Smith argue about the dagger some more.
It would be very clever of you to steal the dagger, then stay about to start rumors about someone else stealing it.
Only an archaeological thief would make such an accusation, Doctor. Now I'm sure that you stole it for yourself.
I did not.
Yes, you did.
Did not.
Did.
Did not.
Did.
Gentlemen, please.
Who asked you?
After the 13th conversation, Steve, the dock worker, makes a surprise appearance, and Yvette, of course, makes a beeline for him. I wonder what Steve thinks about her.
She's a lovely girl, Miss Bo, but she makes me just a little nervous.
Oh, really? You think she's lovely, do you?
Well, sure. A man would have to be blind not to see that, right?
I think she wears a wig. She looks cheap.
Despite having met Steve only for a moment, Laura gets insanely jealous. And finally, Yvette tries to seduce Steve.
You're interested in the great art, no? Then you should come with me this evening. I'll give you the personal tour of the old master's gallery.
Well,
I guarantee that you will not be wasting your time. You will enjoy it very much.
After all that conversation, our main characters disappear and we enter the gift shop. There's a lot to look at, but what we have to do is use the magnifying glass to look at one of the daggers in the display case. These are souvenir replicas and have "Made in Pittsburgh" stamped on them. Except for this one. Maybe it was just stamped on the other side? Once you've examined the dagger, and again, I have to stress, just this one in particular, the clock will advance and Wolf Heimlich will kick you out.
Please rejoin the party now. I will be forced to injure you.
Getting kicked out of the gift shop is the trigger for another event to happen. Steve approaches Laura and asks to have a chat outside. Basically, Steve's in love with us, he's an art student, and he could only afford to rent the tux, not the shoes to go with it, which is why he's wearing work boots. Maybe that's why he walks so funny.
He walks like RoboCop, yeah.
The art in this scene is very reminiscent of this piece by J.C. Leyendecker, and you can see where the artists got the inspiration for Laura's dress. Steve and Laura share a kiss, moving a little fast in my opinion, and then head back to the party. We now finally explore the museum. There are several rooms with dinosaur exhibits. This one has a big bone in it that we can take.
A sign on this dinosaur bone display says, "Please touch." Either these bones feel lonely, or the museum wants you to learn more about the bones by coming into close personal contact with them.
It's also got a talking T-Rex.
I lived between 250 and 65 million years ago, during a period known as the Age of Dinosaurs.
There's a room full of life masks and a hall of armor. Every exhibit has unique responses to the different actions, and it's almost overwhelming how much there is.
Don't think I'll be able to talk to anything here.
Sorry, it's dead. And even if it weren't, it wouldn't tell you anything you wanted to hear. An empty chest from the 15th century. Although the carvings on the exterior are crude, cut into the wood by someone with little talent or ability for wood carving, the chest now resides in a museum, simply because it's old. Kind of makes you stop and think, doesn't it?
Wolf Heimlich prevents us from entering the art gallery for, well, plot reasons, really. But what we actually care about is the Egypt exhibit. This glass pyramid used to house the dagger of Amun-Ra. Time to do some investigating.
Although there are a few scratches on the glass case, there are no signs of forced entry into the display. There aren't even any fingerprints.
Maybe if we look more closely.
Oops.
Congratulations, you've cracked the case of the dagger of Amun-Ra.
In the second room of the Egypt exhibit, we find half of the Rosetta Stone. Examining it with the magnifying glass puts half of the hieroglyphic alphabet into our notebook. And, is that blood in front of the sarcophagus? Using the magnifying glass, we find...
Ironically, there's a gold Ankh medallion, the ancient Egyptian symbol of life, resting in the pool of blood. A close look reveals the initials PS inscribed in the back of the bloody Ankh.
We pick up the Ankh and also find...
There's a narrow red footprint from a woman's high-heeled shoe on the floor.
Okay, I guess it's time to face our fears and open that sarcophagus. Poor Dr. Pippin Carter is dead. But you know, he did make fun of our newspaper.
It's one of those local scandal periodicals. The term yellow journalism comes to mind when I think of it, which means it's not much of a newspaper at all, really. It's more like printed chewing gum for the uneducated masses.
Now, wait a minute. The Tribune is a fine newspaper of the highest quality. I know because I happen to work there.
You've just proven my point.
Never mind, he totally deserved it. If we were squeamish, we could leave this scene right now, but we'd miss out on some evidence.
There are no signs of scratches or bruises on his flesh. This could mean that the murderer, assuming this wasn't a suicide, knew Dr. Carter well enough to get close and stab him without arousing any suspicion.
Yeah, assuming it wasn't a suicide, by which he stabbed himself, looked in shock, and then stuffed himself into a sarcophagus.
The jacket is free of blood, but there is a bluish stain on one lapel. A close look and sniff at the stain makes you think that it's grape juice. The bulge on one side is ruining the carefully tailored lines of the tuxedo.
That bulge is a notepad, which we take.
A notepad made of good quality paper. There's an imprint on the paper from the previous message written on the pad, but it's too faint to read.
The dagger is one of the fake ones from the gift shop. If we keep looking, we find that Carter's flower is a fake and squirts water. You can poke both of his eyes, and all of the descriptions are full of dry humor.
The red fluid appears to be blood. This might explain Dr. Carter's pale appearance.
Once we're done, Detective O'Reilly shows up, and Act 2 is finally over. Let's talk about what we just saw. One of the things I really like about the museum are the historically accurate bits. I actually emailed Josh Mandel about this once, and he told me, Bruce Balfour, who was the Laura Bow 2 designer, was an absolute stickler for authenticity, so he, and Lorelei Shannon and I, always carefully researched anything we wrote about. I would say that Bruce did the majority of that, though. He's very scholarly. The descriptions of the armor are all correct as far as I can tell. So are most of the descriptions of the flags. You can click on every one of them. But what I really love are things like this.
The helmet on this Italian suit of armor, circa 1460, is interesting because it's a barboot, which barboot is sometimes called the barboot sallet. Unlike the barboot, however, the sallet is often characterized, while the deep barboot resembles the bassinet. Then again, who really cares?
And, okay, one more.
A rare 17th century English tapestry which tells the story of Teutonic warrior cockroaches that crossed into England from Germany and besieged the castle of Rochford-on-Essex. Although the cockroaches managed to storm the castle walls after a 90-day siege, the knights of the castle managed to squash the invaders when they reached the castle's inner keep. Since that great battle, the castle of Rochford-on-Essex has been free of cockroaches. Unfortunately, it has also been free of humans. 1 year after the great battle, everyone in the castle died of the plague. Shortly afterward, the castle fell into disrepair and sank into the swamp.
The game seamlessly melds historical accuracy, absurdity, and sarcasm. But there are places where some of the finer details aren't quite what they could be. For instance, there are a number of narrative inconsistencies. If you chat with Dr. Smith, Laura says,
You must be Dr. Ptah Sheptut Smith. Nice gold ankh you're wearing.
Laura will say this even though she hasn't learned his name and no one has mentioned him before. When we talk to Yvette, the game assumes that we've met the Countess, even if we haven't.
She seems like a nice old lady.
Olympia says she doesn't know anything about Lofat's laundry.
I'm sure I don't have an answer for that, Miss Bow.
But she does know Lo-Fat himself.
Oh, yes. He runs the laundry down the way. He always manages to keep the pleating in my silk shrouds just right.
When we ask Ziggy about the Countess, he says,
What makes you think I knows anything about a dame like her? She won't even have anything to do with me. I don't know anything about her. Why ask me?
That's odd. She seems to know you.
This plays even if Laura has never spoken to the Countess before. However, there is an explanation for this weirdness. In the game script, there's a parenthetical that reads, bluffing. This only would have been shown as a direction to the voice actor. It's not in the game itself. As for other narrative weirdness, if you recall, it's possible to finish Act 1 without ever talking to Steve. Just show up to the docks and leave. The game doesn't account for this. Steve will still say that he came to the party to see Laura, even though he didn't know she would be there, and Laura is still insanely jealous, even though she's never spoken to the man. It's also really easy to miss or even lock yourself out of dialogue. If you don't ask Ziggy about Egyptology in the speakeasy in Act 1, you'll never get Ramses Najir's name in the notebook, so you'll never be able to ask anybody about him, ever. The same goes for a few of the other characters. You can only get Olympia Miklos' name by talking to Lo-Fat in Act 1. You can get the Countess's name from either the speakeasy flapper or from Steve, but only on the docks in Act 1. Nowhere else, even if the Countess directly introduces herself to you. This whole section is kind of weird when you really think about it. A user on my Discord offered a 7-step set of instructions that her and her dad came up with just to have the conversations make sense. This is Dagger of Amun-Ra in a nutshell. The party scene is really ambitious, and it's an accomplishment that the team pulled off what they did. But it's so ambitious that a lot of these little things slipped through the cracks. And I've saved the worst one for last. In the floppy version, if you ask Yvette about Tut Smith, Laura will ask if it's possible that he might have killed Pippin Carter, even though Carter hasn't died yet. This was fixed in the CD version, but when they fixed this bug, they introduced another bug where the wrong message plays in Acts 3 onward. And apparently, the issues with the party scene were even worse at some point in development. For most of the game, you can go into the menu and click on the Sierra icon to get some information about how the game was made, the support hotline number, and the credits. But in front of the museum in Act 2, you get this message instead.
There is not enough memory available right now to show the About screen.
And at the party itself, you get the same message. In fact, there is no memory check. This message displays for the entirety of Act 2, regardless of which screen you're on. It also displays on a number of other hand-picked screens. My guess is that they were having problems, maybe with the amount of sprites on the screen, who knows. And instead of fixing it, Sierra just put some traffic cones around the problem. Oh, man. Now here's some other jankiness. After you take the bone, you can click the hand on the empty space and get this.
Don't be greedy. You can't fit more than one of these huge bones into your little purse.
Even though there's nothing there. On the screen with the front door, enter into your notebook, then back out. Instead of the nighttime palette, it'll suddenly look like daytime. Remember when I said you have to eavesdrop on all 14 conversations? That's not technically true. You can skip the last conversation if you trigger the cutscene with Steve early. When you do, you're likely to get a graphical glitch where Steve stomps all over the other guests. But it's not all jank. Here's my favorite little detail that I didn't discover until recently. When you leave and return to the sarcophagus screen, the pool of blood grows larger each time. This not only makes it seem like the blood is slowly leaking out, but it also serves as a hint to the player. So, back to the story. We have two mysteries. Who stole the dagger, and who murdered Pippin Carter? Ziggy and the Countess are intertwined in something, probably something criminal given Ziggy's nature and his unwillingness to take the rap for the Countess. We learn from Yvette that the Countess and Carrington have been spending a suspicious amount of time together as well.
She is a dangerous one. Now I think she is after Dr. Carrington's money, since I am seeing them together so often lately.
Wolf Heimlich, the security guard, had the opportunity to steal the dagger. According to O'Reilly, Heimlich doesn't have an alibi. And Yvette shares these suspicions.
Who knows? I am not the policeman. But he seemed very upset about the burglary. Maybe too upset, no?
Yvette also puts suspicion on the Countess and Ziggy.
There are many suspicious people here tonight who could have done it. The Countess, for example, or the little man Ziggy. But I have not the proof, you understand?
As Dr. Miklos points out, both Dr. Smith and Ramses Najir want the dagger returned to their home country, but both of them seem rather upset about the dagger's disappearance. So, who could have stolen the dagger? Well, I'll just let Dr. Miklos speak for me.
Everybody, silly girl. It's a priceless artifact.
And what about Carter's murder? If you ask Carter about who stole the dagger, he says he has his suspicions, but he needs more proof. So maybe Carter found his proof and confronted the thief. We found an ankh at the crime scene. Laura comments on it when talking to Dr. Smith. You can see him wearing it in the eavesdropping scenes, and if you magnify it, you can find the initials PS. But he would never.
The defilers of the great Egyptian tombs and temples will all die as a result of their crimes. The gods themselves will punish them. The great Amun-Ra will snuff out Peepin Carter's life as easily as I can crush a dung beetle under my shoe.
Oh. Well, maybe he would. Only one way to find out. On to Act 3. In the floppy version, Act 3 starts with copy protection. If you fail it, you get some fourth wall breaking admonishments. Now, the CD version took out the copy protection, but the actors still recorded the lines. So let's do some editing magic.
Sure and Bigora, you can't be playing the game without studying about the Egyptian gods. Why, I've half a mind to arrest you right now.
Yeah, the detective will arrest you, and I will interrogate you.
I'm shocked. You should be ashamed of yourself.
Act 3 proper opens with O'Reilly interrogating the guests. We also meet Ernie Leach. He's the janitor and maintenance engineer. He locks the doors so no one can leave. He also gives us a warning about not going downstairs. O'Reilly and Wolf tell us not to interfere with the investigation, which, of course, is advice we're going to ignore.
Don't bother your little head about it, lass. Dr. Carter died as the result of someone sticking a gift shop dagger in his chest. What more do you need to know?
Well, for one thing, who did it?
Someone who didn't like him, that's my guess.
Brilliant deduction.
After this conversation, we can find O'Reilly in the pterodactyl room. When we ask him about where Carter's body went, he says,
The coroner was at the party. Maybe you met him. When he left, he took Dr. Carter's body with him, ego and all.
But, that's not true. Dr. Carter's body has been stuffed into this suit of armor. Why? I do not have an answer for that. Some players never find this because, well, why would you randomly click the hand on this suit of armor? This is never explained, and you can't tell any of the characters about it either. So, just forget this happened, I guess. And let's take a look at some of those rooms we couldn't get to earlier. This is the Hall of the Masters, an art gallery. Dr. Carrington wanders around the gallery, and we can ask him about Carter's murder.
Any idea who might have wanted to kill him?
The man had enemies crawling out of the woodwork, Miss Bow. Practically everyone's a suspect, if you ask me.
Everyone? Including you?
Well, perhaps I should say everyone except myself, since I was at the fundraising event when Dr. Carter was taken from us. Terrible thing, really.
Tut Smith will also wander into the room. This would be a good time to gently probe him about Dr. Carter's murder.
Did you kill him?
Miss Bow, I am shocked that you would ask me such a thing. Amon-Ra snuffed out Peepin Carter's life as punishment for his crime, and that's all I have to say on this matter.
Hey, what about his Ankh? You know, the one that we found at the murder scene? In the pool of blood? Maybe we should ask him about that.
Let's confront him on this.
While this is...
Oh, what? Hold on a second. We can show everybody else the Ankh except the person who was wearing it at the party. There's no response for this. It's his Ankh. We can't confront him on that? What? Okay, can we ask about it in here? Ankh medallion. There we go.
What happened to the pretty gold ankh you were wearing at the party?
I have no idea. I seem to have lost it.
But what's really interesting in the art gallery are these messages when you examine the paintings.
It's amazing that you can still smell the slight odor of oil paint on this canvas, as if it were painted only a week ago. When you touch the painting, you smear a bit of the paint as if it's still damp.
Wonder what that's about. The next room is a circular chamber with the Thinker statue in the middle. We hear voices coming from a closed door, but can't make them out. There's a drinking glass you can take from the party.
You pick it up and place it in your purse.
Laura presses the glass up to the door to eavesdrop. This is the first of many conversations she'll hear this way. The gist of this one is that Yvette jokes with Olympia, asking about a bone, and it's really a chicken bone. But the real reason for the conversation is that Yvette has a mysterious problem.
Come closer so I can whisper it to you. It is very personal, and I want no one to overhear.
Oh my. Oh my. Oh my.
The door is now locked, so instead of barging in, we walk down to Olympia's office. Along with the totally normal assortment of skeletons, stuffed rats, and cockroaches, we meet Barney.
It's Barney, Olympia's pet cobra.
There's also the second half of the Rosetta Stone lying on the floor. After we learn this half of the alphabet, we can translate the hieroglyphics on the blackboard. I mean, we could, but many players aren't going to do it, because it's not automatic. The game doesn't say, oh, you know all the hieroglyphics, so here's an animation of Laura scribbling down the answer. No. You don't even get a split screen where you can reference both at the same time. You have to physically write everything down. If you do go through the trouble, here's what it says. I pay homage to thee, ye lords of eternity. Ra, strong as thy sail in the wind, as the lake of fire in the underworld. Behold, Shu, the mother, creating the gods in silence from womb. Quicker than greyhounds and fleeter than light. Let me not be burnt. Let me not be consumed. Let me not perish, as my mummy lies prostrate in my tomb. Okay. That was worth it? Maybe? In the middle of exploring, the clock chimes 10:15. For a first-time player, this can be a little confusing. And for long-time players, this can be a little confusing. Because sometimes the clock advances only when you take a critical plot-related action. In other instances, you could trigger a sequence to advance the clock, but there's also a real-world timer ticking in the background. It's either or. Because we took too long wandering around from the beginning of the act, we missed a cutscene that could have provided us with more clues. So, in this playthrough, I restored and moved quickly back to Olympia's office. We'll get to that mystery cutscene in a few minutes. This skull looks interesting, and when Laura touches it,
In the darkness of the secret passage, you're blind as a bat. You have a brave but brief battle during which you endure the battering of the berserk and bellicose black bats without batting an eye. Then your body, bothered by bloody bites, becomes bereft of life.
Yeah, this is a little bit unfair. Laura automatically walks into the passage. You don't get a choice. There's no opportunity to look at the darkness or get a warning about danger. You're just dead. Better hope you have a recent save. There's also a bottle of snake oil on Olympia's desk.
The bottle says, Dr. Moribund's guaranteed snake oil.
Now, wait a minute.
The bottle says, Dr. Moribund's guaranteed snake oil.
Unplayable garbage. When we try to take the snake oil, Olympia comes in and grabs it first.
Good evening, Miss Bo. I see we're looking at my snake oil.
Well, I was just looking around. What's the snake oil for, anyway?
It repels snakes, of course. Comes in handy when I'm working in the basement. I lost a load of Egyptian cobras down there a few weeks ago, and I occasionally come across one of those little darlings.
If we follow Olympia out to the thinker room, the statue's head looks off kilter, and if we continue following, hey, where did she go? Maybe these suspicious lines in the stonework have something to do with that. It's possible to discover this on your own by looking at the statue's neck or by using the magnifying glass on it, but this little cutscene is a more obvious clue. We move the head, the door to the basement opens, and the light bulb in the stairwell goes out. I like the effect they put on the narrator's voice here.
You can barely see a narrow, treacherous spiral staircase descending into the depths of the black stairwell.
You can try to walk down. So we'll come back to this later. Next is Yvette's office. You can click on each of the file drawers in the back, most of which are mundane, except for this.
The file label reads, Shannon Rat Collection.
This is a reference to Sierra employee Lorelei Shannon, whose real-life pet rats would eventually show up in Sierra's Phantasmagoria too. Oh, and there's also this.
The file label reads, Sexual Eccentricities.
On that note, if we magnified the Venus flytrap, we find this.
A handwritten card attached to the plant pot reads, To Yvette from Olympia. Thanks for the wild night with the mummies.
In the trash bin, we find a used piece of carbon paper. We hold it up to the light and read,
Ernie, Big Al called to see if you could do some fencing for him next week. He says he'll make it worth your while to do a fast fencing job.
Interesting. But hey, weren't we looking for a light bulb?
The light bulb is on. You find it very illuminating.
Ouch! The light bulb is too hot to remove.
This puzzle is a little finicky. You have to turn off the lamp, leave the room to let it cool, then come back in. This isn't on a timer or anything. There's also a paper cutter with a sharp blade that we can move up and down for fun. This door leads to Dr. Carrington's office. As soon as we enter, we hear voices coming from Yvette's door.
Come a little closer, Monsieur Najir. I am wanting to show you something.
Miss Delacroix, please. I'm a married man. Oh, dear.
Have you forgotten who let you into the museum, Ramses? Have you forgotten who showed you the secret room for your little ceremonies? You haven't, have you?
No, I haven't, but we'll have to go somewhere else. I don't feel safe here.
After that, we can find some charcoal in the fireplace, rub it on Pippin's notepad, and it reveals his schedule.
Rubbing the charcoal over the notepad has made the imprint readable. Yvette, 8 o'clock, Egyptian rum. Tut, 10:15 Egyptian rum. Carrington, 11 o'clock, his office.
We discovered Pippin's body in the Egyptian room at 8 o'clock. the same time he was scheduled to meet Yvette. The only telephone in the museum has had its wire snipped.
As with so many other things in this museum, this phone is dead.
Next to the phone is this book.
Using your remarkable powers of deduction, you conclude that this little book contains phone numbers.
Thanks, narrator. The first number in the list is T. Dargan. Tammy Dargan was a producer at Sierra and is credited with special thanks for this game. Next on the list is Roberta Williams. Ernie Leach is listed at the bottom, and the rest are jokey puns. The first letter of each name spells out Tribune, a reference to the game's newspaper. So with all this silliness, you would assume there's nothing useful here. However, hidden behind this painting is a safe with a combination lock. If you enter an incorrect combination 3 times, then click on the safe to try again, Wolf Heimlich kicks you out of the office.
Achtung! This president's office is verboten! Leave now or die!
I'm guessing this is to prevent you from brute forcing the safe. The correct combination is the phone number next to Be Safe. Get it? It's funny. Inside the safe is...
It's the personal diary of former museum president Sterling Waldorf Carlton. Glancing through the diary and the male handwriting within, it refers to Sterling's growing fear that the Countess only married him for his money and that she could be planning to kill him. The final entry reads, Yvette fears her too.
So, what else is in here? The calendar on Carrington's desk notes a meeting with the Countess and Ziggy at 1 a.m. in the medieval armor display. There's also a stuffed porcupine on the desk.
Ouch! Those quills are sharp.
The porcupine is named Spiny Norman, which is a Monty Python reference.
Finsdale!
Though that character is actually a hedgehog and not a porcupine. Next to the porcupine sits an intercom. This thing is frustrating for a couple of reasons.
You touch the intercom unit, completely missing the buttons. And the whole point, apparently.
First, the hotspots for the buttons are incredibly tiny, so you're gonna fumble a bit in trying to press the ones you want.
Shut up.
Second, you have to turn the unit on first to hear anything, but the on button isn't labeled. It's this one. You can look at it to get a description, but again, the hotspot is really tiny. So my first time through, I diligently pressed all of the correct buttons from top to bottom, so nothing happened. But pressing this button at the top activates the microphone in the intercom.
Murderer, if you can hear me, give yourself up. You haven't got a chance. Stop these senseless killings.
If you turn on the intercom before pushing the buttons, you'll be able to hear 3 different conversations.
Oh, I so love your scars, Wolfie. Show them to me again, darling.
They are yours to admire, my strudel.
Hoopa! Very, very nice.
Yvette and O'Reilly share a moment.
Oh, my lover, how do you manage to do it so many times?
Sure, and a man's got to do what a man's got to do.
And you do it so well.
Sure, and begorra, I do this at least 50 times a day to stay in shape.
50 times, ooh la la, and what do you call this movement?
Sit-ups, lass. I also do 50 push-ups each day, then I run a few miles.
Ziggy and Ernie have a confrontation.
I'm telling you, pal, you're not supposed to be down here.
Nothing poisonal, Mac, but Archie said I could scope the place out.
Well, he didn't say anything to me about it. Neither did Mr. Heimlich. And he's the chief of security.
It's okay, Mac. Don't get your britches in an uproar. Trust me.
I'd only trust you about as far as I can throw you.
Hey now, there ain't no need for fiscal violence, Mac.
Now that we're done with this wing, let's head over to the Egyptian room for Tut's meeting at 10:15. This is the cutscene we missed by taking too much time earlier. If we didn't pick up Carter's notepad when we found his body, then we wouldn't be able to see this.
Miss Bow,
I did not expect to see you here.
Ah, but I knew you were coming.
You did? How?
How is not important. The question is, why are you here?
I had an appointment with Dr. Carter.
You must be aware that he's dead.
Dead? Why, I had no idea.
Now, wait a minute.
We asked Tut about Carter's death earlier.
Did you kill him?
Miss Bow, I am shocked that you would ask me such a thing.
In fact, Tut Smith can see the sarcophagus from where he's standing.
I'm shocked. I don't know what to say.
Yeah, me either. I don't think this is a clue. I think the game just doesn't know what to do with itself. Laura's not at a loss for words, though.
Where were you at 8 p.m. when he died?
At the party, of course. You saw me there.
Actually, I didn't see you there at that time.
But you must. Oh, well, there was the phone call. Mr. Heimlich told me I had a call waiting on Dr. Carrington's telephone. When I arrived in his office, the line was dead. So I returned to the party.
You and Dr. Carter seemed to argue a lot about the dagger of Amun-Ra. Did you kill him?
Miss Bow, I am shocked that you would ask me such a thing. I am leaving.
After this meeting, we continue wandering the museum until... This unfortunate soul has been skewered by the pterodactyl and decapitated. When we examine the wires, we find that
it's a clean cut, indicating that somebody deliberately sliced through the cable from the catwalks high above.
Finding no other clues, we seek out Detective O'Reilly, who would surely want to hear about this gruesome crime.
Oh, excuse me.
Here now, be off with you then.
Oh, I guess he's busy. One thing I haven't mentioned is that it's possible to miss eavesdropping on these conversations. We were given a warning about hearing voices, but barging in locks us out of that information. In this playthrough, I restored and was a little less eager.
Well, lass, we've known each other a long time, and I'm not ready to get married yet. But I know one thing for sure. I love you.
Oh, my great detective, this feeling, it is mutual.
Just be keeping in mind that I'd have to kill you if I ever found out you were sleeping with someone else.
O'Reilly also remarks that
it's not easy being a cop in this town. The place is lousy with criminals, even in the police force. Sure, and it's a hard thing when a cop goes bad. I've seen it happen. A cop spends years fighting crime and watching the hoods get rich while he risks his life to make just a few bucks. The first time a cop takes a bribe, it bothers him. Oh, but then it gets easier.
You are such a strong man, my Ryan. You would never be accepting the payoff, no?
Sure, and I'm shocked that you'd even say such a thing, Yvette.
I'm sorry, my love. I should have known better.
You'll have to show me how sorry you are. Kiss me.
If you were paying attention earlier, you might have noticed this red liquid on the paper cutter. And if you play with the paper cutter, you get this often missed scene with Olympia.
Miss Bow, this is a private office.
Oh, well, I was just looking around. Have you seen this paper cutter? It looks like it has blood on the blade.
Blood? Oh, that's not blood. You got me all excited. It's probably just red ink. But if you're worried about Yvette, I just saw her on the way down to Ernie's office in the basement. She goes down there a lot for some reason.
Maybe she's fond of Ernie?
Yvette is very fond of everyone, my dear. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have some business to attend to.
Okay, we'll make it down to the basement eventually, but for now, we journey to the life mask room.
Oh no! That doesn't look like a life mask.
What is going on in here?
I'd say you've got some explaining to do, young lady. Why are you screaming?
I found Mr. Ziggy's head.
Very odd how you are always finding the bodies, Miss Bow. I think we should be going back to my office and interrogating you now.
Here now, Wolf. The young lady just found a man's head. Give her a moment before you get out your thumb screws then.
Thank you, Mr. O'Reilly.
Don't thank me, lass. I'm not saying you didn't kill the man. I'm just trying to restrain Mr. Heimlich's enthusiasm for his job.
O'Reilly lets us off. For now. With no other bodies to trip over, let's head back to that stairwell. We replaced the light bulb with the one we found in Yvette's office. In the basement, there's a glass case hiding an emergency lantern. Hey, that would have been helpful to use in a dark and deadly secret passage, wouldn't it? The only heavy object we have in our purse is that giant dinosaur bone, so Laura does her best Bob Ruth impression and smashes the heck out of the glass. Now, oddly, there's a 1 in 2 chance of Wolf Heimlich hearing the noise and kicking you out of the basement. When you come back down, he's already cleaned up the mess and replaced the glass. You can try again, and this time there's a 1 in 3 chance of Heimlich busting you. Come back down a third time, and now you're guaranteed to get away with it. I have no idea why they made it this way. After picking up the lantern, Olympia's ferret, Daisy, scurries through the room. She goes by so quickly that many players will miss out on this dialogue.
Hello, little ferret.
The door towards the top of the screen leads to Wolf Heimlich's office. A pleasant place full of lovely instruments of pain.
A pair of evilly spiked ballet shoes. Ballerinas were tough in the old days.
After a moment, the intercom crackles.
Wolfie, it's Olympia. If you can hear me, meet me in the armor room at 2 o'clock. You promised to show me your private scars, remember? See you there, Wolfcakes.
If we search the bookshelf, we eventually find this book with its spine turned backwards. It's pretty difficult to locate, actually. The shelf is divided in half. You see this? So if you're over here, no. But you have to be just right there.
For some reason.
Jeez, that's really not fair. It's a collection of poetry, and inside...
The poetry book falls open to a poem. She Walks in Beauty, written by Lord Byron. The page is marked by a black garter with a note pinned to it. A lacy black garter with the name Yvette stitched into it. There is also a note attached. The note attached to the garter reads, "You can have the other garter and much more if you meet me at 3 a.m. in the preservation lab." The handwriting is female.
Now, I love this line reading because Yvette and the narrator and Laura share the same voice actor. So this is an American imitating someone with a British accent who, in character, is imitating her own fake French accent.
You can have the other garter and much more if you meet me at 3 a.m. in the preservation lab.
If you touch any of the weapons on this side of the room, you'll get a shocking surprise. Most of these are non-fatal, with the exception of the sword. Finally, there's this bit of stinky cheese in the mousetrap. If you hadn't noticed the wire running from the mousetrap to the wall, you might be tempted to pluck it outright.
Death from traumatic lead poisoning claims many lives every year.
Instead, we trip the trap with our dinosaur bone, which lets us grab the cheese. Also in the basement is the alcoholic preservation lab. The museum has all sorts of normal specimens, like...
Is that a unicorn floating in the murky liquid? Can't be. Unicorns are mythical creatures.
The door to the right leads to Ernie Leach's office. He values his privacy, so you can't talk to him right now.
Can a man have any privacy in his own office? I've got a lot of problems right now, so I'd appreciate it if you'd go pester someone else.
At the back of the lab, we find Olympia Miklos searching for her ferret.
And you think she might be in here?
Well, she's been spending a lot of time in here lately for some reason. She probably likes the unusual smells. Who knows?
After leaving the doctor, we try Ernie's office again, and this time he's not there. But after a moment...
The intercom crackles and you hear...
Ernie, it's Olympia. The release valve in number 13 seems to be jammed. Take a look at it when you have a chance.
There's an index of the vat contents on Ernie's desk. Somehow, the museum got its hands on the Loch Ness Monster, the creature from the Black Lagoon, and King Edward of Daventry. Number 13, though. Warthogs, huh? Next to Ernie's desk is a snake lasso.
This curious device is a lasso at the end of a pole used for the humane capture of snakes in the wild, or wild snakes, or something like that.
The snake lasso is another item that you can use to spring the mousetrap, but it has a more important use that comes up later. So, let's check out those vats. If we climb them one by one, we'll eventually trigger this.
The strong fumes are making you very dizzy. You're in a heck of a pickle now.
Instead, let's investigate vat 13, the one Olympia said had a jammed release valve.
You notice several dried streaks of liquid on the outside of the vat, up near the top.
That could mean that somebody's accessed it recently. I wonder...
Could it be? Yes. It's heavy. It's shiny. It's real gold. It's got a sharp point at one end. It's the dagger of Amun-Ra.
Sweet. Game's over, right? But no. Turns out the dagger wasn't nearly as important as we thought, what with all the killing going on. I guess we still need to figure that out. So now what? After wandering a bit, Laura finds herself back in Carrington's office, where... To quote the Smithsonian's National Zoo and Conservation Biology Institute, the porcupine quill is 2 to 3 inches in length and lightly attached to the porcupine's skin. Because quills are so lightly attached, they come off easily when a predator encounters them. When the quills enter the skin of a predator, they work their way further into the skin at a rate of 1 millimeter an hour. Now, I don't have the exact measurements of Dr. Carrington's chest, but somehow, I'd like to believe that his body has a depth of more than 2 to 3 inches. Something tells me this isn't how porcupine quills work. The clock was broken at 12:04 a.m., giving us a time of death. On top of the desk, we also see
2 letters written in blood. CP.
There are no other clues on Carrington's body. The in-game clock chimes 12:45. If you remember, the calendar on Carrington's desk says that he was to meet with the Countess and Ziggy at 1 a.m. in the medieval armor display. So, we head over there and hide behind the tapestry. The Countess waddles in, carrying something under her arm.
Well, well. Good evening, Countess.
What are you doing here?
I just happened to be hiding behind the tapestry.
You're lying.
How could you tell?
Nobody just happens to hide behind a museum tapestry.
And nobody just walks around inside a museum late at night with paintings under their arms. One thing I have to ask myself is, why How did you bring those paintings to a meeting with Dr. Carrington this time of night?
How did you know I was meeting Dr. Carrington?
I found a note beside his body.
Oh, my God!
And you seem to be a logical murder suspect.
Wait a second. You're not going to pin this one on me. I didn't have anything to do with it. Why would I want to kill him? We've got a perfectly good art burglary scheme going.
With hardly any prodding at all, the Countess spills the beans on her entire operation. Okay, there's some prodding.
What do I care what you think anyway? You're not a cop.
But I am a reporter, and I could write about you in the newspaper. Of course, your reputation would be ruined, and the police would get very interested in you. But you're tough, so I'm sure you could handle it.
Look, it was just a little deal I worked out with Dr. Carrington. An art forger duplicates the paintings on the wall of the gallery. Then we hang them up in place of the real ones, which we sell to private collectors. And Carrington is here to see that no one gets too nosy.
You mean he was here?
I swear I didn't have anything to do with his death. He was my cash cow. I brought him over from Europe just for this reason. Now that's it. I'm not saying any more about it.
This would explain the smeared paint we found earlier. Speaking of the paintings, let's go look at one of them.
A typical light-hearted painting by anonymous Bosch called A Heartwarming Story, depicting dead humans being tormented by skeletons and demons in hell.
Wait, how did she say demons?
By skeletons and demons in hell.
Anyway, back to the painting. There are a few jokes here. Anonymous Bosch instead of Hieronymus Bosch. And if you examine the painting, you'll get a close-up of King Graham.
An authentic recreation, at least in Bosch's mind, of happy-go-lucky skeletons tormenting a dead king named Graham. They appear to have stolen a key from the king, which one of them is placing in their treasure barrel.
Which, if you haven't seen my other videos, get on that, but this is a reference to the main character of the King's Quest series. There's also a glinting object in the painting, but to get into this close-up, or to see what the glint is, you have to do something odd. It's really hard to catch the hotspot, and for the longest time I thought I had to time my clicking with the glint. Tons of people struggle with this, and here's why. The sprite, or view as it's called, is a big rectangle, and the sparkle is tucked into the upper left-hand corner. You'd think the clickable area is something like this, when really it's this. So if you click even slightly to the left or above the glint, you'll miss the mark. It also means that you can examine the wall and still get into the painting. Now that we know the trick, we find that the sparkle is actually a skeleton key. It's attached firmly to the painting, but we can remove it with the dagger of Amun-Ra, potentially damaging 2 priceless museum pieces.
With careful use of the dagger, you managed to pry the skeleton key off the Bosch painting without any serious damage.
Oh, that makes me feel better. Now to figure out what this key opens. It'd be nice if it led us out of this murder museum, but no.
Mr. Leach, can you let me out of this museum? I don't like it in here. People keep dying.
Sorry, Miss Bow. I seem to have lost my door keys.
We wander a bit more, and when we return to Carrington's office, we can eavesdrop on another conversation between Yvette and Dr. Smith. She asks his help in moving her desk to cover up a mysterious stain.
Oh, it's heavy. Oh!
Oh, I am so sorry. Did you hurt yourself?
Yes. Oh no, I'm bleeding. You owe me one, miss.
But of course, Mr. Smith. I'll do anything you say. Anything. Didn't I let you in when you asked? Didn't I keep your secret?
Yes, I suppose you did. And I'm sorry about bleeding on your carpet. At least it'll blend in with the old stain. What is that anyway?
Oh, it is only strawberry jam.
I'm sure I don't want to know, Yvette.
Probably not, Dr. Smith. Now, let's go to your place.
When we come back to Ernie's office, he's gone, which gives us a chance to ransack his toolbox.
A pair of heavy-duty wire cutters,
The wire cutters have an odd bit of beige coat fabric stuck in them. Interesting. Also, if we had picked up the wire cutters earlier, we could have used them to extract the skeleton key from the painting. Since Ernie's not in here, let's look around his office. We didn't get to look around her earlier.
It's a stuffed bear.
Okay. Knowing Sierra, I'm sure this one talks. I'm pretty sure it talks. But we'll do. Let's hear that again. No, go away.
You can't talk to me. I'm a stuffed bear.
Does commenting on the stream mean we get to be in the new video? Not necessarily, maybe. Ernie eventually comes back and kicks us out.
Miss Bo, I've warned you before. This is my private office, understand?
I was just helping Olympia look for her ferret. Yeah, that's it. Here, little ferret. Here, girl.
The ferret's not here. Get out.
Okay then, let's check out the mammalogy laboratory, the little room in the back of the vats. Olympia's bottle of snake oil is still here, and since this is an adventure game...
You pick it up and place it in your purse.
And hey, there's Daisy. Daisy heads right for the trunk underneath the table. The trunk is locked, so this seems like a great job for a skeleton key. Oh my. The other descriptions in the room tell us that these are dermestid beetles. Dermestid beetles are real, and they do eat flesh, but only dead and decaying flesh. The living have nothing to worry about. What Laura needs to do is open this locker to find...
a slab of meat which smells ripe, veins of rancid fat forming abscesses that ooze copious amounts of pus run through the decomposed cut of beef. Yum, just like Mom used to make.
Then offer it to the beetles before they devour you. Instead of eating the meat, they carry it off like it's a sacred relic or a revered king. And inside the trunk...
Oh!
A skeleton lies in the trunk, its bones picked clean by the dermestid beetles. They've efficiently removed every last shred of flesh, making the skeleton nearly impossible to identify. It appears to be a gold pocket watch. A close look reveals an inscription on the watch. To Dr. Archibald Carrington III for your years of dedicated service, many thanks from your staff at the British Museum.
But if this is Carrington, who was the Carrington we were talking to this evening? Taking the pocket watch advances time again to 1:45 a.m. On our way out of the lab, we hear voices coming from Ernie's office and take out our drinking glass.
Interesting. I'd never noticed that before.
You never noticed what, my love?
You have a tattoo of the Eiffel Tower on the inside of your left eye.
Ah, you are doing this to distract me, no? But I am worried about you, my Ernie. You are so big and so strong, but this ice pick fellow, he is a dangerous one, no?
Don't worry, baby. Icepick knows he won't get his dough if he kills me. Maybe I can get into a hot poker game down at the Harlem Swinger and win enough money to pay him off.
No, the gambling is what got you into this mess, my Ernie.
Yeah, maybe you're right. But I've got bigger problems tonight. I saw something I wasn't supposed to see. You're better off if I don't tell you about it. Now, what's this on the top of your Eiffel Tower tattoo?
Jeez, sounds like these two need privacy.
Sacré bleu!
Hey, you nosy dame, can't you see we're busy? Scram! Are you deaf? Read my lips. Get out!
But actually, what you just saw will play out if you interrupt them in the earlier part of the evening. If you wait until later at night, Yvette's movement is a little more enthusiastic, and the dialogue is a spicier variant.
Am I gonna have to spank you? Amscray!
Maybe she's wanting to join us, yes?
Why do we not get an option? Where's the yes, no? As we leave the alcoholic preservation lab, the door opens ominously behind us.
You're a vegetarian. You don't want the meat anymore.
Hey, meat!
The meat doesn't respond, and the bugs continue on their journey.
I didn't think that would do anything. Hey, meat. Upstairs, we hear more voices from Yvette's office.
You lied to me.
Well, lass, I guess that makes us even. You lied to me.
You had something to do with the dagger burglary.
You've been sleeping with someone else. I saw you go off with that dock worker.
I've never slept with Steve, and the Ziggy fellow, he told me about you and the dagger.
And you believed that little weasel. I've arrested the man more times than I can count.
The Ziggy, I know him a long time. He would not lie to me.
That man'd lie to his own mother if someone paid him for it.
Ziggy, he says you were working with the Carrington to steal the dagger.
Lies! You can't be trusting the man. If he wasn't already dead, I'd pound the truth out of him.
Maybe you already did.
So, first of all, how did Yvette get from Ernie's office to her office so quickly, and without running into Laura? Turns out there's an explanation for that. There's a hidden passage from Wolf's office in the basement to Carrington's office. Just be sure to light the lantern first. Also, if you hit this button on Ernie's wall, a crate slides open in the mammology lab. This reveals a hidden passage between the lab and this sarcophagus in the Egyptian room. Finally, that passage in Olympia's office connects to the alcohol vats. But back to this conversation, O'Reilly suspects that he's not the only corned beef sandwich in town, and let's be honest, Yvette is dining at a lot of food carts. Also, O'Reilly is involved in the dagger theft and may have killed Ziggy? Elsewhere in the museum, we find the Countess. If we ask her about Carrington's pocket watch...
I beg your pardon, Countess?
Here now, where did you get your mitts on that? Answer me! I really don't think that belongs to you, Miss Bow. I suggest you give it to me for safekeeping.
No, I don't believe I can do that, Countess.
Okay, weird. Also, what if we ask her about the very conspicuous dead body right in front of us?
Ziggy's... No, I'm afraid I don't know a thing about that dreadful little man.
Respect for the dead, lady. He's right there. Oh, no! He got stuck in the wall! No! Anyway, it's almost 2 a.m., the time of Olympia and Wolf's meeting in the armor room. They open with a flirty exchange about Wolf's fencing scars, and then...
Perhaps we should go somewhere less public, Wolfie.
Oh yeah, good idea. Particularly since there's an annoying reporter wandering around the museum. That is not something I would have allowed if I was running things here.
Give it time, Wolfie. Perhaps you will be running things here someday, if I have anything to say about it.
Oh? What can you do?
There are ways, but come, let us speak of these things in more privacy.
Right after this meeting is the only time in Act 3 that we can reliably find Olympia walking anywhere. So now is our chance to ask her some questions. Wait, come back! Oh, no, wait, what?
The long curved tusks of the mastodon are currently supporting the limp weight of Ernie Leach, ex-maintenance engineer.
Ernie's body is damp all over.
The pants are intact, but the smell emanating from them is noticeable. It's as if he took a swim in bathtub gin. There does seem to be an unusual amount of mucosa foam in the cheeks and throat, usually indicative of death by drowning.
And if we examine him further, we find
The hairs are bristled and clearly animal in origin, with a faint smell of alcohol.
after we exit Ernie's close-up, the clock strikes 2:15, and we only have a moment to talk to Olympia before she becomes inaccessible.
It's unfortunate that Ernie died, but his body is nicely displayed on that mastodon, don't you think? Makes quite a nice exhibit, actually.
If you show her the snake oil, she says,
Ah, what a heady smell. It makes me feel frisky. Have you seen Yvette lately?
No. Why do you ask?
Oh, it can wait, I suppose.
When we head into the Masters Gallery, we interrupt a conversation between Wolf and O'Reilly.
Ach, you are smelling like the brewery, mein Capitan. Either you've been drinking, or you've been eating too many of those grapes.
Ernie Leach has been murdered!
What was that, lass?
Ernie is dead!
Now then, lass, where did you find the body?
The mastodon room. He's hanging from some mastodon tusks.
Ach, he's probably just sleeping on the job.
No, I'm sure he's dead.
Well, I'll go take a look at him then. If I need to talk to you, I'll find you later.
And with that, Act 3 comes to a close. Act 3 is where the game gets interesting. 3 more murders, each of them ridiculous. We already talked about how silly it is for the porcupine to have 2-foot-long quills that can pierce a man's torso. And let's not forget about Ziggy's death. I want to share this Reddit post that explains what the killer would have to do to pull this off. Go downstairs to Ernie's office via one of the secret passages. Get the wire cutters. Go back upstairs and somehow gain access to the catwalks above the pterodactyl room. This may require astral projection, as no such access seems to exist. Wait patiently for Ziggy to wander into the exact right spot. Could be a while. Bring a crossword. Cut all 3 suspension wires simultaneously so the pterodactyl falls straight down with its beak pointed directly at Ziggy's heart. Afterwards, come back down from the catwalk. Go to Yvette's office and get the paper cutter. Time to send a message. Walk back through half the museum to the pterodactyl room, lugging said paper cutter. Decapitate Ziggy. That'll show him. Carry Ziggy's head to the life mask exhibit. Affix it to the wall via unspecified means. Return to Yvette's office toting the now bloody paper cutter. Put it back where it goes. Neatness counts. Replace the wire cutters in Ernie's office. Go back upstairs and wait for someone to discover the body. Revel in your genius. Make sure nobody sees you during any of this. If they do, you'll have to come up with some equally efficient way of getting rid of them too. But you know what? Points for inventiveness. And I love the way that these screens look, with the characters set against the black Lion Decker-esque background. So all in all, I like this chapter, though it has its annoyances, like the characters wandering. On the one hand, this is kinda cool because it makes them feel more alive, until they're not. On the other hand, if you want to talk to a specific character, you often can't find them, and when you're speaking with them, they don't stop walking. So sometimes you'll only get through a couple of questions before they disappear off screen. The only time you can talk to Olympia is right after her meeting with Wolf and before she wanders into the Old Masters Hall. O'Reilly doesn't wander at all, but that ends up being worse. He stays put in the pterodactyl room until Ziggy's death, at which point he disappears, aside from the scripted cutscenes. You will never be able to talk to him again, which leaves a ton of topics inaccessible for questioning. The whole wander mechanic is also buggy. Oh, let's see if she walks through here. Hold on. Sometimes they do this. Yep, do it. Yes!
Excuse me?
Eh?
I think that's a bug.
Eh?
I thought something was coming down from the ceiling at first,
I
but
mean, it's the Countess, apparently.
yeah, I think she was...
Oh.
Speaking of bugs, let's go through some of my favorites. One of the hotspots in Carrington's office is a little out of whack.
The president's chair.
What?
The president.
What?
The president.
What?
The
What?
night sky. The night.
Wait,
The night.
how did I get that to activate?
The president's chair.
What? If you try to touch the burnt-out light bulb in the staircase, the narrator will say,
"Ouch!"
even if it's been off for several minutes. Close the doors in the armor room before the meeting with Wolf and Olympia. Wolf will walk right through them, and Olympia never enters the room, though the conversation still happens. Sometimes Ziggy and Tut will be on the same wander path, so it looks like they're best buds. And then he walks over there. Does Ziggy just get stuck there? And let's talk about the dagger. The theft of the dagger set the whole plot in motion. Realistically, you would expect the characters to react to it once Laura finds it. But they mostly either don't believe you or have nothing to say. Ziggy thinks it's a gift shop dagger.
What's that? One of them fake Pete stickers? Don't point that thing at me.
Tut Smith will lament the dagger's loss, but there's no way you can show it to him. When you ask Ernie about the dagger, he says that he hopes it's found soon. And when you try to show it to him, he makes a joke out of it.
Hey, don't point that at me. I'll give you all my money.
As for Carrington, you don't even get a response from him? Dude. If you ask the Countess about it,
Oh, I'm simply devastated that it was stolen before I got a chance to see it. It's supposed to be simply divine.
no, but like, I have it. I'm trying to tell you. It's right here.
Why, thank you, dear girl. Let me take a closer look. Why, thank
What?
you, dear girl. Let me take a closer look.
Okay, where are you going? I thought you wanted to take a closer look. If you get the dagger as soon as possible, before any of the Act 3 murders, you'll be able to show it to O'Reilly.
Very interesting. I know it's a gift shop dagger, but it almost looks real. Mind if I borrow it then?
Well, no. I guess not.
Thanks so much. I'll be getting it back to you later then.
So the dialogue indicates that we gave it to him, right? But we don't.
It's the...
Like, we still have it. Hey, game, are you okay? Do you need a break? To be fair, Dagger of Amun-Ra is doing a lot beneath the hood. Here are some of the finer technical details. After you unlock the trunk, there's only a short amount of time before the beetles devour Laura. You have 6 script seconds to feed them the meat. What's a script second? Basically, there's a quirk in the game engine. Whenever the script calls for seconds, the actual time that passes is about between 1 and 2 seconds faster. But I really don't want to phrase it that way whenever this comes up, so I'm just going to say what the script reads and call that a script second. Also, if you don't have a mouse, the game doubles the time and gives you 12 script seconds to feed the beetles. If you stir too many alcohol vats, Laura will fall in. I initially thought this happened the 3rd time you stirred a vat, but it's slightly more complicated than that. It's like there are 2 different danger levels. You enter danger level 1 after stirring 1 vat. Stir again, and you get to danger level 2. If you climb up a vat while you're at danger level 2, you die. When you leave the room, the danger drops to level 1, and the game sets a timer. The danger will only clear completely after 30 script seconds have passed. It's like they were trying to simulate Laura needing to clear her head of the fumes. Also, if you're at level 1 and try to go back into the alcohol vats, Wolf will be there and kick you out.
Fräulein Boll, this laboratory is dangerous and verboten to the public. You will leave now.
There's also some unique dialogue with Wolf that you can only get here.
Good evening, Mr. Heimlich.
Good evening, Fräulein Bo. When are you leaving?
I expect to be staying a while, actually.
Do not linger in the halls. And do not touch the exhibits! If I find you touching anything, I will pop your heart out through your throat!
Remember how you could press a button to broadcast intercom messages instead of receiving them?
Murderer, if you can hear me, give yourself up.
There are actually 6 different messages, and which one you get is random. Most of them are Laura being confused about how to operate it. But I like this one.
If the person who stole the dagger of Amon-Ra can hear this, and your guilty conscience is bothering you, please leave the dagger on President Carrington's desk. There will be no questions asked.
Okay, so let's get back into it. We found the dagger of Amon-Ra, and we overheard a conversation that heavily implies O'Reilly and Carrington were involved in the theft. Though I want to emphasize, it's easy to miss the eavesdropping conversations. On your first playthrough, you might not hear this conversation at all. So stop being so smug. I'm holding your hand through this whole thing. We also had 3 murders. Who murdered them? And why? You know what? I'm tired of hand-holding. Your hand's getting kind of sweaty and gross, so you figure it out this time. If you haven't played the game before, go to the comments and tell me who you think did it. And on your way there, hit some of these buttons, engage with the video. It took a lot of time to put together. On to Act 4. At the beginning of Act 4, we find Yvette in her office, distraught.
My Ernie, he was a wonderful man. I really loved him.
Oh, sure you did. I know your type, Yvette. I know you didn't really love him.
Laura, what? Where's this attitude coming from?
It was the gambling. The ice pick. He killed my Ernie for the gambling debts.
Ernie wasn't killed with an ice pick.
No, the ice pick is the... how do you say it? The lone fish.
Lone fish? Oh, you mean ice pick is the name of a loan shark?
But the doors are locked. How would Ice Pick get in the museum? And if that's true, who killed the other people? I'm assuming that Yvette's talking nonsense out of grief.
Very curious. I'm surprised you had time to see Ernie tonight.
Why is that?
Because you've been spending so much time with Mr. Dorian. Now wait a minute.
We haven't seen Steve since the party. He's not in Act 3. This entire time we've been wandering around the museum, finding corpses, and Steve is nowhere to be found. How does Laura know where Steve has been, and why is she so jealous? I don't have an answer for that. The game's just gone off the rails at this point. Buckle up, folks.
I can see you're upset. I'll leave you alone.
Thank you for showing me your scars, Steve. They were very, very nice.
Is everyone hot for Steve now?
Have you heard about the murders?
Murders? Oh, I guess somebody did mention that.
What is that reaction?
You seem kind of distracted.
Yeah, well, I've got news for you, too. I think some of the paintings in the Old Masters Gallery are forgeries. The paint is still wet on some of them.
Thanks, Steve. We figured that out on our own in the big long act, where you didn't show up. Yvette comes out of her office and whisks Steve off.
Oh, Steve, a terrible thing has happened. Ernie is dead.
Ernie?
Yes, my Ernie. What will I do? Oh, I need a big man to cry on. Please, come into my office.
Sorry, Miss Bow. The poor woman seems very upset. Maybe there's something I can do for her.
I can just guess what that is.
We can talk more later, okay?
We'll see about that.
Well, we don't trust that at all, so when we hear voices, it's time to eavesdrop.
How does that feel? I'm not rubbing too hard, am I?
The harder the better, mon ami.
Well, we all get a little stiff now and then.
Ooh, and you are so good at working out the kinks.
Would you mind not moaning so loud? You might draw attention.
Oh, dear!
Miss Bow,
Sacré bleu.
I can explain this.
I bet you can, Mr. Dorian.
I'm just rubbing her neck.
Oui, and he does it so well.
I'll just leave you two alone.
Miss Bow, wait.
To make the clock advance, we have to go down to the vats. And then, for the first time, we can find Wolf in his office. But you want to know something funny? In the floppy version, you can't find him here. The devs just forgot about Wolf, I guess. After you give him your press pass, you cannot speak to him again, unless you stir one of the vats, leave, and come back in. But even then, that's only for a few seconds before he kicks you out. So, if you played the floppy version, there's a good chance you would have missed out on Wolf's dialogue. And that would have been a tragedy.
Achtung! This is not the public part of the museum. This area is verboten to you and all of your kind. Leave now before you force me to shoot you.
Low fat.
He is the man who does my laundry when the German laundry is closed. Of course, the German laundry is never closed, since it is manned by sturdy German laundry people who need no sleep.
John Bow, Dad.
I do not know your father, but I'm sure my father could beat your soft American father in a duel.
Charcoal.
Why do you want to know about charcoal? Are you planning on burning down the museum? Well, are you?
Snake oil.
I do not need snake oil. I do not fear snakes. I do not fear anything. The snakes fear me.
Wolf is still kind of sensitive about the dagger theft.
Mr. Heimlich, how do you suppose the thieves got past you? Wasn't the dagger supposed to be heavily guarded?
Of course it was guarded. I have no idea how they got the dagger. They must have drugged me. They must have hypnotized me. They must have been ghosts.
Mr. Heimlich, are you all right?
That must be it. They were ghosts. I couldn't have possibly missed them. I couldn't have.
So what happens if we just give him the dagger?
Never point a weapon at me, Fräulein Bow. Not even a toy like that. My highly trained reflexes could kill you in 3 seconds if I wanted to. 3 seconds! And I am considering doing that right now!
I just tried to give you the dagger, buddy. All right.
And let's head to the Masters Gallery, where we find a new sculpture.
The odd statue feels like it's made of cheap, quick-drying plaster.
Well, let's get a closer look at what's going on underneath.
There is plaster in all of the openings on Yvette's face. Mouth, nostrils, eyes, ears. She has several scratches on her face, as well as cuts on her lips. The scarf clearly isn't a scarf. It's the silk hosiery Yvette was wearing earlier in the evening. Her neck under the scarf shows red friction burns, as if she was strangled. This makes you wonder if she died during a passionate moment or had simply developed the habit of wearing silk hose around her neck.
In addition to the scarf, we find 2 other pieces of evidence on Yvette's body. These bifocals have a fingerprint on one of the lenses, though Laura has no way of identifying it.
You pick it up and place it in your purse.
Yvette's left hand is clutching some red hairs, which we also take. And when we head towards Yvette's office...
Countess, why are you tied up on my desk? Your face has certainly changed to an attractive pale color, my dear. O'Reilly! You want Mr. O'Reilly? Okay, just wait right here and I'll go get him. Hello, Miss Bo. Do you know where Mr. O'Reilly is?
Well, no, not exactly. I assume he's still in the museum.
Well, I'll find him. If you see him first, would you tell him that the Countess is dying on the desk in my office?
Maybe there's a way to save the Countess, so we run on in. The Countess is still on the desk, and the door to Barney's cage is open. If we wait 15 script seconds, Barney chomps down.
Your dying thought is, when am I ever going to learn?
Well, we've been carrying around the snake oil for a reason.
That's it. I'm out of oil. Now what?
Thankfully, we also have the snake lasso from Ernie's room. Something fun here? Once you pick up the snake technically disappears and Laura's normal view is replaced with a view of her holding the snake. Which means, as far as the game is concerned, you and the snake are the same thing.
You straighten out your dress. Appearances count.
Okay, enough of that. So, let's see about the Countess. Hope it's not too late.
Oh!
Oh no. Somebody else is dead.
Magnifying the Countess's ankle reveals the cause of death.
A cobra fang is embedded in the Countess's swollen ankle.
If you magnify Barney, you can see that they went to the trouble of removing his fang, which is a nice detail, though as far as I can tell, in real life, cobra fangs do not naturally detach. There are scattered files next to the Countess, but nothing vital.
A paper with printed words on it.
Lying on the ground is...
a little bunch of grapes. Chilled. You remember something about grapes being found alongside the victims of Jack the Ripper.
When you pick up the grapes and leave the room, the act ends. And you know, it'd be a real shame if there were some obscure item hiding on the Countess that you needed. Oh well. The game is kind of lopsided. Act 1 feels appropriately paced. Act 2 is a slog. Act 3 gets exciting, and then Act 4 is really short. We get a cutscene with Yvette, Olympia, and Steve to start the act. Yvette dies, the Countess dies, and that's really it. But here's a bit that I purposely skipped over because a lot of players are going to miss it. If you remember, walking towards Yvette's office after breaking her free of the plaster triggers the Countess Olympia cutscene. If you then thoroughly investigate Olympia's office, the act will end when you leave. But in order to see all the game has to offer, you have to ignore your instincts and visit Yvette's office first. There are clear signs of a scuffle here.
It's on the floor, but it's actually a desk lamp.
We also find Yvette's shoe, which we take. There are more red hairs on Yvette's desk, as well as this.
You don't need it. Leave it here for the police.
So you have to leave a little bit of a piece of a dress for the police. But you can pick up the hair, the shoe that's in the same room, the glasses from the crime scene, the bloody ankh, the warthog hairs from a dead body. But no, a piece of a dress is just too far. That's too much. With Act 4 being so short, this is probably a good place to talk about some odds and ends that didn't fit anywhere else. But before that, a spoiler. There are no more bodies for Laura to find in the game, and in just a moment, I'm going to reveal some super obscure clues that almost no players will ever find. So now is a good time to ask, who murdered each of the victims, and what was the motive? See if you can figure it out. Okay, odds and ends. Way back in Act 1, if you chit-chat with Low Fat, he's all business.
I was just wondering, do you work here?
Yes, ticket please.
But after you get the dress, if you talk to him twice, you'll get this spicier variation.
You back again? Love that thinking you have hots for his body. Busy man. What you want now?
Did you notice something funny about Ernie in his death portrait? I didn't, for decades. But it's very obvious that his mustache is missing. Did the killer really have time to give him a shave? The floppy and CD versions have a number of differences, aside from the voice acting. In the floppy version, you get this menacing close-up of Barney when he's out of his cage. This isn't in the CD version. In the floppy version, there are 7 stars we can look at in Carrington's office.
It's the magnificent Betelgeuse in the constellation of Orion.
Some of them are real, but others are jokes.
Ed's star. Some guy named Ed found it while he was lying drunk in a field one night, staring at the sky. Ed said the aliens told him he could name the star after himself, so he did. A careful search brings you to the constellation known as Cetus and the star known as Deneb Kaitos Ecoquestus.
But they goofed it up a bit. If you click here, you're supposed to get this message.
It's the startling Aldebaran in the constellation known as Taurus the Bull.
What you actually get is this.
Carrington's desk.
That's because they assigned both the desk and the star to the same control area. In the CD version, they took out the lines of code for the stars altogether, so you can't hear any of them. But the control areas still exist, which is why you can still do this.
The president's chair.
What? That's not the chair. The inventory icons in the floppy version are much bigger than in the CD version. My first thought was that it was a space-saving maneuver to make more room for the voice lines, but would this really save that much space? I don't know. Ziggy looks totally different between releases. There's no facial twitching in the floppy version, and the background is different. In the floppy version, O'Reilly and Wolf have 9 animation loops, but only 5 in the CD. But the funny part is that the scripts weren't updated to account for this, so Wolf faces the wrong direction in most scenes. O'Reilly is also facing the wrong direction in the Master's Gallery cutscene. This view of Wolf would have been used in one of the party eavesdropping scenes, but it's not referenced anywhere in the game's code. There's also this art of Laura reacting to a dead body, which isn't used. When the game went to CD, Sierra had to consider people playing the game in Windows 3.1, and that operating system had certain colors reserved for its interface that applications couldn't use. So the art in the CD version is quite different, most of the time in subtle ways, but sometimes in ways that are really jarring. The most stunning example is the desk at the newspaper. Here it is in the floppy. All of those neat brush stroke textures? Say goodbye. Here's the CD version. In the morgue, a room that we haven't gotten to yet, the floor turns from textured to muddy. Sometimes the changes were for the better. I like the way that the light shines onto the ceiling in Carrington's office. These urns in Low Fats look a little more defined. But overall, I prefer the floppy version. In the floppy version, you can interact with the sheet covering Yvette's lower half. If you magnify it, you get this clue.
Perhaps the sheet was wrapped around Yvette's body as a shroud. Or maybe the murderer had artistic inclinations? The disturbing thought flashes through your mind that Steve Dorian is an artist in his spare time.
But in the CD version, you can't interact with the sheet covering. For the longest time, I thought this was an intentional change. Now I'm not so sure, because the code to handle those interactions is still there. So what's the difference? This is the control image for the floppy version. If you click on the brown part, you'll hear the lines. This is the control image for the CD version. So you actually can interact with the towel, you just have to click on the 1 pixel width outline. If this was intentional, it's very who needs a scalpel when you have a hammer. The murders in the museum aren't the only spooky things going on. Laura, apparently, knows telekinesis. In the armor hall, if the door is open, click the hand on the bolt and the door will close, no matter where you're standing in the room. After you break the glass in front of the lantern, you can look at the lantern for a close-up. If you use the eye icon, Laura walks up to the lantern. But she doesn't walk up if you use the magnifying glass. So stand anywhere you want, magnify the lantern, and use the hand to grab it at a distance. Whenever you can eavesdrop at a door, the narrator says that Laura hears muffled voices coming from that direction, with one exception. At any time in Act 3 or 4, you can listen at Wolf's door in the basement. There's no indication that you can do this. The first 2 conversations have Olympia talking to Daisy, her ferret.
That's my darling. That's my dear one. We'll go back to my office soon, and I'll give you what you want.
Next, we overhear Olympia and Najir talking about Wolf's weapon collection. And then we get an uncomfortably long exchange where she coerces Najir into showing her the tattoos on his feet.
Oh, Dr. Miklos, this is very embarrassing. I'd rather not.
Are you forgetting that I just saved you from almost certain beheading, Mr. Najir?
No. Very well. I will show you. Just a minute. Let me take off my shoes.
Your shoes? How exciting.
Here they are. Look quickly. What if someone were to come in?
Ah, how beautiful. Egyptian sun symbols, yes?
Yes. Please, may I put my shoes back on now?
Oh, if you must. I've never seen tattoos on the bottom of the feet before, Mr. Najir. Tell me, did it hurt very much? Did you bleed?
Yes.
Ah.
You know, maybe Tubby's parents were right. Maybe we shouldn't talk about anything ever again. After a therapy session, Laura can listen to one final conversation between Wolf and Olympia.
Oh, Wolf, you are so strong. Lift me up on the desk, yes?
Anything you'll say, my strudel. You'll know I'd do anything for you. Lie, steal, murder, especially murder.
Wolfie love, you give me the chills. Please, scare me some more.
Oh, all right. If it would please you.
More than anything, who else will die tonight?
The Countess? She is always walking around like she owns the place. Museum security must be maintained. That woman must die.
That's one of the things I love about you, Wolfie. You have a wonderful sense of humor.
In addition to this dialogue that, again, almost no one sees, there are a ton of truly inaccessible voice lines in the game. Most of the characters have reactions to every item in the notebook, regardless of whether you can ask them about it. For instance, Wolf takes the press pass from Laura when she enters the party.
Danke, Fräulein. I'll return this pass when you're leaving. Enjoy yourself this evening.
Which means you can never ask anyone about it, and you miss out on lines like this.
How charming. You brought your press pass. I imagine it has allowed you to see many wonderful things like murder scenes and accidents.
For a game as complicated as Dagger of Amon-Ra, writing responses for everything makes sense. Because, who knows, maybe the design will change later, and you actually do want to let Laura show Yvette's shoe to Steve.
Miss Delacroix lost her shoe?
You're sure it belongs to Yvette Delacroix?
Well, I think so. It's pretty small. Could be yours, I suppose, but I don't think it would fit Dr. Miklos or the Countess.
I didn't realize you were an authority on women's shoes.
Well, I'm not, but I notice things.
Like women's feet, for example.
Sometimes, yeah, I guess so.
You have any idea how she might have lost a shoe?
Maybe she took it off?
Or maybe someone took it off for her.
Or maybe it fell off.
Or maybe she got excited and kicked it off.
I wouldn't know about that.
Of course not.
But there's also some really important stuff hanging out in the inaccessible assets. For instance, O'Reilly can be found in the pterodactyl room at the beginning of Act 3. After Ziggy dies, you can never find him again to ask him about anything, like his thoughts about Ziggy's murder.
Have you had a chance to examine Ziggy's body?
Which piece? Ha! It's a little cop humor there.
Very amusing.
I've got to have a sense of humor about me job. You think I enjoy examining detached portions of people I've met?
Well, no, I suppose not.
Bloody right I don't. Whoever killed that Ziggy fella must have been trying to make a point. First he nails the man's body to the floor with a pterodactyl. Then he cuts his head off for a display.
I suppose it was a bit flashy for the average murder.
There's nothing average about this killer. He's a crafty one. It's almost as if he's toying with me.
Or Carrington's murder.
I guess you've examined poor Dr. Carrington's body?
You shouldn't be so interested in dead people, lass. You're starting to sound like that spooky Olympia woman.
It's my job.
It could be your life.
What do you mean?
We've got a killer running around loose in the museum, don't you know? If you keep poking your nose into his business, he may not like it.
Then you think he'll kill again?
Certainly. If he thinks you're on his trail, he might want to be covering his tracks by killing you.
Oh, dear.
Or Ernie's murder.
The poor sod drank a wee bit too much, is my guess. Judging from the strong smell of alcohol on his body, he was on quite a bender when he died. Probably poured alcohol all over himself.
You're saying he drank himself to death, then hurled himself up onto the mastodon tusks?
Don't be ridiculous, lass. Obviously, he climbed up on the tusks before he drank too much.
Ah, I see.
Or Yvette's murder.
Any idea who killed her?
We've got a museum full of suspects, lass. Everyone seems to have enjoyed her company, if you know what I mean. And I do mean everyone.
What I'd like to know is how the killer managed to plaster her so fast.
Well, I'm starting to think there are two murderers at work here. They could have used fast-drying plaster, but doing all that work and moving her body would have been easier with two people.
Any clues as to who those killers might be?
Well, maybe I shouldn't be saying this, but I'm getting a wee bit suspicious about Olympia and that Heimlich fellow. They're both a bit on the strange side, if you ask me.
You don't suspect anyone else?
I suspect everyone, even you. Maybe you're trying to make a name for yourself as a reporter by killing people and writing about it.
That's ridiculous.
I'm trying to make a point, lass. Everyone has a motive, if you learn enough about them.
You also won't hear anything O'Reilly has to say about the Countess's murder. This one's also funny because one of Laura's lines accidentally got assigned to O'Reilly's voice actor instead.
Have you studied the body of the Countess since she died?
Of course, lass. That strange Olympia female came to get me. She said the Countess asked for me when she was dying, The odd part was how happy Olympia seemed to be about the old bat dying on her office desk. Did you find any clues? No, that killer, he's a tricky one.
You haven't found any evidence at all?
No, it's like someone's been getting to the murder scenes ahead of me and removing any evidence that's worthwhile.
These seem pretty darn important to me. What do I know? So now that almost everyone in the museum is dead, what's left to do? Let's head to Act 5 and find out. What's going on? Wait, who's that? It's almost enough to make you think you missed a cutscene, but nope. The killer, so far content to leave you alone, leaps, or shuffles, out of the shadows with a brain-smushing club. It's very disorienting, and you know what makes it worse? The CD version inexplicably disables the save and load menu on certain screens. You cannot save in Olympia's office. You cannot save on the first screen of the chase. So if you die right away, like most people, your last save game might have been all the way before Barney. Okay, so you can't use any items on the killer. You can't even look at them to get a description. Running into the Master's Gallery is an instant death. So too, the main rotunda. Alright, so if you come in here... Whoop! Did you see that? Laura just got super big there. Let's watch that again. Hold on. Yeah, she gets big. The scaling messes up. Which only leaves the pterodactyl room. If you linger too long, Laura stays rooted to the spot while the killer very slowly catches up to her. Shutting the doors seems like a good idea, but as soon as we enter the Hall of Armor, it's another instant death. What you're supposed to do is cut the end of the pterodactyl wire with the wire cutters. Then, tie the wire around the door handles. Didn't pick up the wire cutters? Too bad! You can't finish the game! Seriously. Better hope you have a save. Locking the door gives you some extra time before the killer breaks it down. You can slow the killer down even further by shutting the door to the armor hall and bolting it. We can also hide in one of the sarcophagi, but Laura hops back out again. What you have to do is this. Move the chair in front of the employees only door. Open the transom to make it look like you squeezed through. Then hide in the sarcophagus.
You hear the sound of someone breaking down a door in the next room.
So the idea is that the killer didn't find you anywhere, looked at the transom, smashed down the door, and then went to another part of the museum to search for you. Inside the employees only room are a bunch of crates.
The label on the crate says, contents, dehydrated rats.
But we don't want to linger here too long. And we stand there very patiently, waiting to die. You can swing this crate in front of the door, and then use either the wire cutters or the dagger to cut the cable holding it. This buys you more time. All that crate business is optional though. What you have to do is push this crate and take the elevator down. We're now in the mummy room, with no apparent way out. If we wait long enough, the killer catches up. I'll just wait patiently to die, sir. Thank you. There's another death if you stand underneath the elevator.
Going down?
There's also some more silliness in the flavor text.
It's the mummy case of I think I saw Puditut IV, a pharaoh of the 18th dynasty. He was known for his strange affinity for cats.
Opening this case reveals...
It's a mummified teddy bear. One of his black button eyes appears to watch you as you move around the room.
If you look at the headdress of this mummy case, you learn that a snake protrudes from it. So, we use the snake lasso on it.
The snake shifts just a little, and you hear a click.
I really don't like this puzzle, especially because it's difficult to make out the headdress. When we open the case, we find a hidden passage inside. But when we try to enter, the killer, again, catches up. What you have to do beforehand is take the mummy, the whole mummy, and then prop it against the door. Now we can go through the secret passage.
You hear ominous chanting as you encounter a strange ceremony.
Oh my goodness! Excuse me, I was looking for the women's lounge?
I'm sorry you found us. Our cult of Amon-Ra must remain a secret. There is too much at stake here. Too many important people are involved.
You don't really plan to kill me, do you?
Of course not. Kill is such an ugly word. Actually, we're going to sacrifice you to Amon-Ra.
Laura convinces the cultists to test her first. They'll let her go if she can answer Amon-Ra's riddle. But there's a catch.
Of course, you'll have to answer the riddle with hieroglyphics.
Which means if you don't have both halves of the Rosetta Stone written down in your notebook, you can't input the full answer, and you can't finish the game. Answer incorrectly, and that's a wrap for Laura.
No, wait!
What is the room you leave without entering?
This is the same riddle that Ziggy told us in the speakeasy, so you've had the entire video to think about this. The correct answer to the room you leave without entering is womb.
That's correct. Now, the second riddle. What is the room you enter without leaving?
We also received an obscure hint from the blackboard in Olympia's office. The room you enter without leaving is tomb. Laura swears to never reveal the cult's location, and they let her go. To the furnace room. There's a silly way to die if you open the furnace door. One of the writers also had some fun with the shovels in this room.
This isn't a good shovel to use. Try the other one.
Okay.
It's too heavy. You don't have room for it in your purse. It's not yours. You can't do anything with the shovel. You have more important things to do than use the shovel. Besides, the shovel is rusted into place.
Fine. Fine then. There's Steve in the coal chute. You clear away some of the coal to get at his face, but poke as you might, it does no good. After a few moments...
Several gunshots ring out close by. You can barely hear anguished cries and shouts over the roar of the furnace. You'd better get moving.
And then... What you were supposed to do in the last act was examine the Countess's body with the magnifying glass and find, for some reason, smelling salts. So, you reload your save, you do have a save, right? And play the game again.
Ow!
I guess he stepped on a nail? The game isn't clear about what's happening here. But Steve's out for the count, and again...
You'll get nowhere with that holier-than-thou attitude.
If only Steve had his boot. Oh, wait. Did you, the silly, unobservant player, Miss Steve's boot hiding in the Hall of Armor? The one that only appears at the end of Act 4? Only after you break apart Yvette's plaster statue? And there's absolutely nothing pointing you in that direction? Yeah. How could you have possibly missed that? This dead man walking scenario was so bad, they fixed it for the CD release. If you don't have the boot in this version, the game places it next to the coal bin. Like the steamer trunk, you have 6 script seconds to give Steve his boot, or 12 script seconds if you don't have a mouse.
Oh, my head. What happened? Laura.
But what most people don't know is that the boot has another use. Remember the glass we had to break with the bone to get the lantern? The wire cutters won't smash it. The dagger of Amun-Ra, sharp as it is, won't work. Nothing, aside from the dinosaur bone, will break it. Except... Again, you can only grab the boot during a very short time frame at almost the end of the game, by which point you will most likely already have the lantern. I do not understand this decision, and I kind of love it. Anyway, Steve helps you move the stone, and you crawl into the secret passageway.
Steve's eyes are a lovely shade of blue, aren't they? Oh dear, those aren't Steve's eyes. And they seem to be getting closer.
Didn't get the lantern earlier? Too bad. You can't finish the game. So, consult a walkthrough, reload your save from Act 4, play through the chase sequence again, and use the lantern. Snakes.
Steve, what are we going to do?
You'll think of something, Laura. I trust you. I can't do anything from here except guard the rear.
Remember the snake catching puzzle earlier? Easy. Let's just use the snake oil. Okay. Remember when Laura said this?
That's it. I'm out of oil. Now what?
In that moment, the game became unwinnable. That's right, another dead man walking scenario. Because Olympia's office is the meanest room in the game. Games teach us how to play them. Every time I use the snake oil, the snake moves away from me and closer to its cage. The game has taught me to keep using the snake oil until I can't. 3 shakes will back Barney into the corner, but the 4th shake does nothing. Each shake of the bottle drains it by 1/4. But you would only know this if you went into your inventory and looked at the bottle.
A bottle of Dr. Moribund's guaranteed snake oil. It's half full.
What you're supposed to do, against all instinct and logic, is save that last quarter for the snakes in the tunnel. If you make this mistake, there is technically a solution. Go to the basement to get more snake oil. It's this little nondescript container that I bet you didn't even notice. It has 3 bottles worth of refills, and each click refills your bottle to the brim. But there are more problems with this. First, it means having to ignore the corpse on the table, which, let's face it, almost nobody's going to do because maybe you leave and the body won't even be there when you get back. And once you pick up the grapes, the act will end when you leave the room, and you can't get to the basement to refill the bottle. Second, you have no feedback from the game that you did anything wrong here, and you probably won't even think to refill it. Third, the game doesn't stop you from refilling your bottle if it's already full. If you get click happy, you could use up the refill completely and have nothing to show for it. You can also dump your snake oil down the drain.
Nice going, Ace.
Oh, sorry. Down either of the drains.
You hear a distant hiss down the pipe below the grate as you sprinkle a little snake oil down the drain.
Or you can empty it on the desk.
Worried that there might be snakes hiding in this desk, you sprinkle a little snake oil around just to make sure it's safe. It seems to work, since no snakes jump out and attack you.
So it's possible that the snake oil refill is already gone by the time you get to Barney. For a large number of players, it's time to read a walkthrough, restore, do the chase sequence all over again, and use the snake oil. On the next screen, more vermin.
A ravening swarm of enormous wharf rats are scurrying toward you.
Did you forget the cheese in the mousetrap from Wolf Heimlich's office? Too bad! You can't finish the game. So you do all the stuff, come back here, and feed the cheese to Steve.
Thanks, Laura. I'm starved.
Oh, wait, that's not it. That just means you still can't finish the game. Instead, feed the cheese to the rats.
The rats devour the cheese in a split second. It only made them hungrier.
Oh, wait, no, that's not right either. Instead, throw the cheese into either one of the doorways. The one on the left leads to the furnace, and you've got yourself a rat barbecue.
You watch in relief as the last of the rats scurries out of sight. You can barely smell an unpleasant odor, like burning hair.
And yes, afterwards, you can drop into it yourself if you're tired of playing the game. If you throw the cheese at the door on the right,
you watch in relief as the last of the rats scurries away. You faintly hear soft plops like bread dough hitting the floor coming from the doorway.
Take this one, which leads out of the mouth of the T-Rex. I swear, when I was a kid, this made sense. Press the talk button and trap the killer in its jaws. Just as we're about to unmask the culprit, the screen fades to black. Act 5 is a bit of an odd one. It opens with a chase sequence that comes out of nowhere. Surviving the chase requires a lot of trial and error, and you're going to die a lot before you figure it out. The act is memorable, but not one that I particularly enjoy. We also discovered the secret cult of Amun-Ra in the basement. This is what Yvette was referring to in her conversations with Ramses and Tut Smith earlier. Then there's a bunch of dead man walking scenarios all in a row, and we have this weird sequence with the snakes and the rats. Altogether, Act 5 has some neat ideas, but in my opinion, it's mostly annoying. In spite of that, let's talk about a few noteworthy Act 5 details. I really like the way this screen looks with the outline of the teeth, but it kind of looks like Laura is cowering behind Steve, which irks me because Laura's the heroic one, and Steve hasn't done anything except walk funny and fall down. Laura's sprite can't quite reach the snake headdress, so they scale it up for a moment in a way that looks goofy if you're really paying attention. If you wire the pterodactyl room door, then leave and come back, the wire will float in the air if you open the door again. After you cut the cable on the crate in the employees only room, the narrator is nostalgic for the seconds gone past.
Judging by the plethora of a large crate is suspended from the crane arm.
Wait, no it isn't. That's a bug.
A large crate is suspended from the crane arm.
No, it's not. You lied. You lied to me, narrator. It's not suspended anymore.
Don't touch it.
If you try to talk to the snakes twice, the game makes a King's Quest reference.
This ain't King's Quest, Laura.
You were talking to animals all the time in those games. Oh, no. There are hieroglyphics carved onto the tunnel wall. Translated, they read, "Buy Sierra products." Remember how this character's face was blurred out? You could pretty easily guess that this was Tut, but in case there was any doubt, His face wasn't blurred at all in early pre-release screenshots. If you leave the first room of the chase sequence within the first 5 seconds, the timers are broken for the rest of the game. You can hang out here all day if you want, and the killer will never show up. So, now that we've caught the killer, it's time to move on to Act 6, where we...
So far, so good. Keep it up.
Oh, wait. Never mind. We haven't talked about these things yet. At the end of every act, Laura gets a grade on her detecting skills.
Your perky demeanor and thorough technique are making you a first-class detective.
And for decades, no one outside of Sierra knew how these grades worked. Until now. Players earn points for their actions, and there are 50 points possible. There is no way to see this number in the game, but it's silently keeping track. Some of the points are surprising. You get a point for using the magnifying glass on the Ankh, but only when it's on the ground. If you magnify it after picking it up, that doesn't count. Also, despite all the different eavesdropping scenes, the only one that gives you a point is the one with Yvette and Ernie, none of the others. But most of the points are expected and mundane, like getting the press pass or putting Barney back in his cage. At the end of each act, the game looks at your points and does some math. Multiply the points by 100 and divide by a divisor variable that changes each act. I believe what they were trying to do is to figure out your percentage of the points possible. For instance, in Act 1, there are 5 points possible, so divide by 5. In Act 2, there are 12 points possible, so divide by 12. But it's inconsistent after that. I'm guessing the amount of points changed, but they just never updated these numbers. After doing the math, the game puts your percentage into a sort of grade band. I'm going to call them A through F, like grades in school. There are 5 different narrator messages for each grade. Every time you get a grade, it pulls the next message off the top of the pile, so you never get duplicates. I can see the good intentions in this system, but there are some surprising consequences. You can only get 1 D, and it is not possible to ever get an F, which means you can never hear 4 of the D messages, and you can never hear any of the F messages.
Consider another line of work, Laura. Perhaps you should investigate a job in the mailroom. At this rate, you'll never work in this town again. Have you thought about a less demanding occupation? There's a name for detectives like you. Unemployed.
And even that's buggy, but in a way that you would never know. When Act 1 starts, you get the same act transition screen as you do later in the game. The same code runs here as well. So the game looks at your points, sees that you have none, and gives you an F. It doesn't display the narrator message because the devs at least thought to check for that, but the first F response has already been pulled off the top of the pile. So even if you could get an F, you would never hear the first one because you'd already earned it at the start of the game. There's a link to the points document in the description if you're curious, and if you like learning about the game's hidden systems, well, I think it's time we get to the most mysterious, most bewildering part of the entire game. Act 6 has the coroner quizzing us in the form of a multiple-choice test. Sam Augustini, our employer, is here too for some reason, and the whole thing takes place in the morgue, which is just kinda weird. Also, and bear with me for a second, the official hint book has this portrait of Ralph Pulitzer in it, as in the Pulitzer Prize. You can't find him anywhere in the game, but the depiction sort of looks like this character in the morgue. So no pressure, I guess. It's only your entire journalistic career on the line. Before we continue, This is your last chance to figure out the mystery on your own. If you're playing along, pause the video and see if you can identify who murdered each of the victims, what was the killer's motive, and who stole the dagger of Amun-Ra. Okay, let's get going.
Who murdered Dr. Pippin Carter?
We have 4 pieces of evidence. Tut Smith's ankh at the scene of the crime, a dainty woman's shoe print which points to either Yvette or the Countess, Dr. Carter's notebook which shows that Yvette was supposed to meet him at the exact time and place of his death, and the grape juice stain indicating O'Reilly. 1 against Smith, 1 against the Countess, 1 against O'Reilly, and 2 against Yvette, so I guess we go with her? But that isn't the correct answer. The actual killer was... Well, I'll come back to that one. For the motive, the game will accept either cover another crime or financial gain. Why? We'll come back to that too. It's a bit unfair that the first question is also the hardest.
Who murdered Lawrence Ziggy Ziegfeld?
Earlier, we overheard this conversation.
Ziggy, he says you were working with the Carrington to steal the dagger.
Lies! You can't be trusting the man. If he wasn't already dead, I'd pound the truth out of him.
Maybe you already did.
And the pterodactyl's wires were cut. If you examine the wire cutters with the magnifying glass, you find
there's a bit of rust on the wire cutters, as well as an odd bit of beige coat fabric.
So the correct answer is O'Reilly. But why? Well, here are some hints. First, Ziggy told Yvette that O'Reilly stole the dagger with Carrington's help. We also saw Ziggy and O'Reilly cavorting back at the party, so they likely had some sort of criminal relationship going on. For now, just know that the game, again, accepts both cover another crime and financial gain.
Who murdered Ernie Leach?
Ernie's body is covered in alcohol, and immediately afterwards, Wolf remarks that O'Reilly reeks of alcohol. O'Reilly drowned Ernie in the alcohol vats and then flung the body on the mastodon to make the murder scene look cool. I can only guess here, but the designers may have thought players wouldn't think to search the vats again. What was the motive?
But I've got bigger problems tonight. I saw something I wasn't supposed to see.
We don't know exactly what Ernie saw or knew, but since we know who the murderer is, we can assume it was something to do with the dagger or another murder. The correct answer is cover another crime or financial gain. And don't worry, we're getting to the why in just a moment.
Who murdered Yvette Delacroix?
There was red hair in Yvette's dead hand, and the only 3 people with red hair in the game are Steve, Laura, and O'Reilly. Also, shortly before Yvette died, O'Reilly had this to say.
Just be keeping in mind that I'd have to kill you if I ever found out you were sleeping with someone else.
Which, you know... The killer was O'Reilly, and the motive was jealousy or revenge.
Who murdered Countess Lavinia Waldorf Carlton?
You know, I'm not really sure on this one.
O'Reilly!
I feel like
O'Reilly!
it's on the tip of my tongue.
You want Mr. O'Reilly? Okay, just wait right here and I'll go get him.
So we know this one. There were also grapes next to her corpse, which indicate, again, O'Reilly. As for the motive, say it with me, cover another crime or financial gain, and trust me, we're almost there with explaining this whole thing.
Who was the skeleton found in the steamer trunk?
We know from examining the pocket watch that it was Archibald Carrington III. He was murdered in the opening cutscene and stuffed in the trunk. The Carrington we met, and who was eventually quilled, was an imposter.
Who murdered Dr. Archibald Carrington?
Why, Watney Little, of course. Oh. You don't know who Watney Little is? You mean in Carrington's office, you didn't painstakingly click the hand on every single book until you got to this exact one here?
I'm shocked. I don't know what to say.
Yeah, there's nothing to indicate this. You have to brute force it. And even when you know where you're supposed to click, it's still difficult. Most people do not find this on their first playthrough, and it's essential to understanding the mystery. It must feel unfair that I'm only mentioning this now, but that's exactly how it feels playing the game. The book is Crime and Punishment, which is what the bloody CP stands for. Inside the book, there's a police file.
A handwritten note attached to the police file reads, "Remember our deal." You read a police report on the criminal career of one Watney Little, conman extraordinaire. Glancing at the top of the page, you noticed that the investigations were conducted by Scotland Yard. You also noticed that the last entry describes Little's recent escape from Dartmoor prison.
This Watney Little is a bad dude, as Olympia will tell us if you show her the file.
Has the perpetrator ever murdered anyone? Oh, he has. How simply delightful. Do you know the fellow personally?
No, I'm trying to find out who he is.
What a pity.
So, here are the leaps of logic we're supposed to make. In O'Reilly's conversation with the vet, he describes a scenario and it seems like he's talking about himself.
It's not easy being a cop in this town. The place is lousy with criminals, even in the police farce. Sure, and it's a hard thing when a cop goes bad. I've seen it happen. A cop spends years fighting crime and watching the hoods get rich while he risks his life to make just a few bucks. The first time a cop takes a bribe, it bothers him. But then it gets easier.
We only know one character who would have access to a police file. Therefore, O'Reilly had a deal worked out with Little to steal the dagger. What exactly was the deal and how did that happen? The game doesn't say. Isn't that fun? You get to make up your own story about how the two are connected. Here's what I think happened. Most of this is supported by evidence in the game, but some is pure speculation. The Countess married the president of the Leyendecker Museum, Sterling Waldorf Carlton, and then killed him for his money.
Glancing through the diary and the male handwriting within, it refers to Sterling's growing fear that the Countess only married him for his money and that she could be planning to kill him.
But there was a problem.
There's an annoying problem with the estate right now. It seems Sterling was changing his will when he died to give me more money, perhaps.
So she found another way to capitalize.
Look, it was just a little deal I worked out with Dr. Carrington. An art forger duplicates the paintings on the wall of the gallery. Then we hang them up in place of the real ones, which we sell to private collectors.
She just needed to make sure the new president wouldn't interfere. So she arranged to have Watney Little kill and impersonate Carrington.
Carrington is here to see that no one gets too nosy. He was my cash cow. I brought him over from Europe just for this reason.
The Countess also needed a middleman to help sell the paintings. The note on Carrington's desk indicates that Ziggy was going to meet the Countess and Little in the armor room, the same meeting she brought the paintings to. We also saw Ziggy and the Countess talking about a deal at the party. So Ziggy was the art theft middleman. If I had to guess, and I do have to guess because the game doesn't actually tell you, this is where everything fell apart.
There's even a high-class international con man in town.
At some point, Ziggy, the loudmouth criminal informant, spilled the beans to O'Reilly. And O'Reilly, no longer content to just take bribes, saw an opportunity. He would keep silent and not give up Little to Scotland Yard. The price for his silence was the dagger. I'm going to be honest, there's not much to go on, and even when you have all of the pieces, it feels flimsy. However, this does make sense of some comments at the party.
Dr. Carrington is a quiet one. I don't see him very often. I'm certain, however, that he must have a poetic soul. I have seen him walking amongst the dead in the Egyptian exhibit late at night.
She interprets this as a romantic appreciation of death, but more likely he was planning the dagger theft. Carter says he ran into Carrington several years ago and notes that Carrington looks different now. This, finally, is the clue we have to Dr. Carter's murder. He was the only person present who knew the real Carrington. If Carter realized that Little was an imposter, the whole scheme would fall apart. O'Reilly couldn't take that chance and killed Carter to cover up stealing the dagger. But why couldn't Watney Little have murdered Dr. Carter? After all, he had killed before. The game doesn't say. I think this is by far the hardest murder to figure out. Almost all the physical evidence points elsewhere, and you have to make several logical leaps. And you know, I still have questions. Like, the Countess says that she brought Little over from Europe. Was she involved with the real Carrington's murder? Probably, but we can't confirm that. It's also really frustrating that the only way to learn about Watney Little's existence is through this insane pixel hunt. About that, though. When you ask the Countess about Carrington's pocket watch, she has this reaction.
I beg your pardon, Countess?
Here now, where did you get your mitts on that? Answer me. I really don't think that belongs to you, Miss Bow. I suggest you give it to me for safekeeping.
No, I don't believe I can do that, Countess.
If you try to show it to her, nothing happens. Unless you show her the pocket watch during the armor room meeting, where she brings the paintings. The problem is, the room where you find the pocket watch is locked until just after the meeting. It is not possible to have the pocket watch, so you can't show it to her. Here, I've used some debug commands to get the watch early, but this is normally inaccessible. No one who has played the game has ever heard this, and as you listen, I think you'll understand my frustration.
Does this look familiar?
It looks like a pocket watch.
You'd never guess where I found it.
In your purse?
In a trunk with a human skeleton. The engraving on the inside of the watch says it belongs to Dr. Archibald Carrington III.
Dr. Kara, what?
Having trouble talking?
I didn't kill him. Watney did it.
Tell me about it.
I hired Watney to impersonate Carrington. Then Watney killed Carrington on the boat during their trip here from England.
You hired him to kill Dr. Carrington?
No, that was his idea.
Okay. If Carrington's skeleton is in the trunk, then who's the corpse on the desk in Carrington's office?
Oh, God! It's Watney Little! Someone killed Watney!
Someone who thought he was the real Carrington?
How would I know? I wasn't there!
Who else, besides you, would have a reason to kill him?
I don't know. Maybe someone else knew his true identity. Maybe he made someone angry. Maybe he killed himself.
I seriously doubt that the man would commit suicide by impaling himself on a porcupine.
I don't know what to tell you. I don't know who did it. I just know I didn't do it. You must believe me.
I don't know about you, but that feels like a pretty vital conversation. One that the designers would want to double check that you could actually hear. Especially since you can't get this information anywhere else. I don't understand. What is with this game? What is it doing? Okay, let's revisit some of those earlier questions. Regardless of the details, we know that O'Reilly worked with Carrington to steal the dagger, and Ziggy knew about this. So O'Reilly killed both of them to get rid of the loose ends. The Countess found out about either the dagger theft or O'Reilly's murders, or maybe both, so he killed her to cover up his crimes. I think. Look, I'm not saying this is logical, I'm just trying to give the best explanation I can, given what the game accepts as the correct answers. Which is kind of the problem. You can only really figure out the motive once you already know who the killer is and work backwards. In fact, I didn't even understand the mystery until reading this analysis on a Let's Play. But you may be asking, what about all the other clues? Like Tut Smith's Ankh in the pool of blood, or Olympia and Wolf's plans to take over the museum. Well, Anyway, back to the inquest.
Who murdered Watney Little?
O'Reilly murdered Watney Little for the same reasons as the Countess and Ziggy.
Who actually stole the Dagger of Amun-Ra from the Ancient Egypt exhibit? Who manipulated Watney Little into stealing the Dagger of Amun-Ra?
Little stole the dagger under the manipulation of O'Reilly.
Who was the woman involved in stealing paintings from the Old Masters Gallery? Who was the man involved in stealing paintings from the Old Masters Gallery? Who was the middleman who provided forged paintings for the Countess and sold the real ones for her?
Both the Countess and Little were responsible for stealing the paintings, and Ziggy was the middleman.
Who is the high priest of the Amun-Ra sun worshippers?
You had to have been asleep to miss this one. It's Najir.
Which museum employee runs a fencing operation as a sideline business?
The carbon paper reveals that Ernie Leach did a fencing job with Big Al. This is also mentioned in a conversation with Yvette. I've seen some people not get the joke, so a fence is a criminal who receives stolen goods in order to resell them later. For that reason, you may have thought that Ernie was the art theft middleman. But no, it's a pun.
That assumption is correct. Mr. Leach was moonlighting with his own business as a fence installer. In fact, he put up a very nice fence around my house.
He's a literal fence installer. Thanks, game. So that's the end of the questions. But it's not enough to figure out the who and the why. You also need evidence to back it up. According to the official hint book, these are the items you need to get the best ending and why they're important. The Dagger of Amun-Ra, the real one, and it has O'Reilly's fingerprint on it, even though O'Reilly reported that he never found the dagger. Now, Laura cannot determine it's O'Reilly's fingerprint in the game, but this is what the hint book says. You also need Watney's police file, which verifies Watney Little's existence and the fact that O'Reilly gave the file to Watney. The Ankh medallion, which implicates Tut Smith in the murder of Pippin Carter. The red hair, from O'Reilly's head, but could be from other red-headed people also, such as Steve. The pocket watch, which verifies the skeleton's identity as Carrington. The wire cutters, with threads attached from O'Reilly's trench coat. The carbon paper implicates Ernie in the fencing operation. The bifocals were intended to implicate the Countess as the murderer of Yvette, but one lens has O'Reilly's thumbprint on it. Again, in the game, we have no way of knowing this. Pippin's notepad implicates others who might have killed Pippin, like Yvette. The garter implicates Heimlich as the possible murderer of Yvette. The grapes place O'Reilly at the scene of the Countess's murder. The warthog hairs tie Ernie to the alcohol vat murder scene where O'Reilly killed him. Yvette's shoe demonstrates that Yvette was killed in her office, implicating Steve. So, if you answer the questions correctly and have all those things, you get the best ending. But this is wrong. The official Sierra hint book is just wrong. See, these days, we have access to the decompiled, annotated game scripts, so we can double-check these claims. In fact, the only things you need to get the best ending are the Dagger of Amun-Ra, the red hair, the bifocals, the wire cutters, and the grapes. None of this stuff matters at all. Which doesn't make any sense, especially the police file. Like, if you don't find that, you have no idea who Watney Little is. So how are you supposed to figure out any of the mystery? But wait, let's look at those items a little more closely. The dagger is required to advance time in Act 3, so you need to get that regardless of your ending. The same thing goes for the grapes, which are a necessary progression trigger to end Act 4. You also need the wire cutters to get the wire for the Act 5 chase. Otherwise, you can't finish the game. And that leaves the red hair and the bifocals as the only items that are both possible to miss and required for the best ending. And guess what? It's even more complicated than that. Are you even surprised? Depending on how you answer the quiz and what evidence you collected, the game determines two things. Do you know who the murderer is, and did you recover the dagger? If you answer questions 1 through 9 correctly, and you have the grapes, bifocals, red hair, and wire cutters, you confirm that you know the murderer's identity. When you do, Laura will introduce one final piece of evidence.
I have an eyewitness who would only feel safe to come forth if I established my case against Mr. O'Reilly. Now that I've done so, let me introduce Dr. Petah Shep Tut Smith of the Cairo Museum.
Tut then testifies against O'Reilly, describing the attack on the sun worshippers in the Egyptian ceremonial room. The room that was so secret, we were almost killed for knowing about it, and now he's just offering that information freely to law enforcement. So, that's the identity of the murderer out of the way. Questions 10 and 11 determine whether you found the dagger, who stole the dagger, and who manipulated Little. But remember, we had to pick up the dagger. It's required to progress time. So the game conflates Laura doesn't know who stole the dagger to also mean Laura never found the dagger in the first place. If you get either of these questions wrong, the coroner says this.
I'm impressed with the quality of your murder investigation, but the identity of the thief who stole the dagger of Amun-Ra is still a problem. If you could have located the dagger of Amun-Ra and brought it to me, that would have been of considerable help.
Even though you definitely picked up the dagger. Getting one of these wrong magically makes the dagger fall out of your purse? Apparently so. And questions 12 through 16? The ones about the art theft, and the high priest of the sun worshippers, and the fencing operation, they don't matter. They do not affect your ending. I mean, the coroner will chastise you.
Incorrect, Miss Bow.
But otherwise, answer however you want. And the game doesn't care. This is infuriating. I have watched people in Let's Plays pore over their notes, play the game multiple times to figure this stuff out, and the game just says, screw you, thanks for playing. So let's talk about those endings. To get the best ending, you need the grapes, the bifocals, the red hair, the wire cutters, and the dagger of Amun-Ra. You also have to answer the first 11 questions correctly. The coroner congratulates Laura on her success.
I must admit that I'm impressed by your methods, Miss Bow. Not only have you identified the murderers of those unfortunate individuals, but you have also uncovered the skullduggery involving the dagger of Amun-Ra. Our case is very strong now and prosecution can begin.
O'Reilly breaks rocks in prison, cursing Laura's name.
Do you hear me, Laura Bow? You'll pay for this. If it's the last thing I ever do!
Steve gives Laura a gift shop dagger, and the two make plans for dinner.
Thank you, Laura. You've made me very happy.
Oh, Steve.
Oh, Laura.
Oh, Steve!
Dr. Carrington's bones hang on display in the museum. Yvette's statue remains in the Old Masters Gallery.
The sculpture is attributed to Ryan O'Reilly, 1926.
Dr. Pippin Carter rests in peace.
Pippin Carter's body was transported to Egypt by his cousin and now occupies a place of archaeological honor in the Temple of Amun-Ra in the Valley of the Kings.
Wolf Heimlich continues as chief of security. He marries Olympia Miklos, and the two have a child. Not much is said about Watney Little.
As he was not a nice man, nobody missed him.
Olympia Miklos' summary contains the same information as Wolf's. Ernie Leach's body is donated to the museum, and his body resides in small jars of alcohol. Tut Smith gives up on getting the dagger returned to Egypt, but after some tours, it returns to the Cairo Museum anyway.
So, several years later, Tut died a happy man, even though his death was the result of an Egyptian cobra bite.
Ziggy's head remains preserved on display in the Life Mask exhibit. Ramses Najir becomes a millionaire with his accounting business. The Countess is still dead, and the game offers no further information about her. Sam Augustini nominates Laura for a Pulitzer, and Laura receives a Citation of Valor from the police department.
Sam retired 10 years later to become a gentleman cabbage farmer, fulfilling a secret lifelong dream.
Crodfaller T. Rhubarb becomes Laura's assistant. The coroner... Wait, why do we care about the coroner? Low Fat opens a chain of laundries and makes a lot of money. O'Reilly is sentenced to 60 years in a state penitentiary. Steve Dorian and Laura start dating. There's actually an Easter egg in Gabriel Knight, Sins of the Fathers, which implies that the two had a long marriage. John Bow is understandably proud of his daughter and brags that he taught Laura everything about investigating. After 2 years on display at the Leyendecker, the dagger exhibit goes on tours in the US and Europe before finding its way back to Cairo. All in all, pretty good. From here on, I'll only highlight the differences between the endings. In the second ending, O'Reilly is caught, but you don't find the dagger. For this one, you have to find the grapes, the bifocals, the red hair, and the wire cutters. In addition to your inventory, you have to answer the first 9 questions correctly and get either of the dagger questions wrong.
Miss Bow, I'm impressed with the quality of your murder investigation, but the identity of the thief who stole the dagger of Amun-Ra is still a problem.
The crowd claps a little less enthusiastically this time. We don't get the scene with Steve gifting Laura the dagger. Pippin Carter's body is still transported to Egypt, but we don't get the line about his body resting in peace. Wolf Heimlich is fired from his job as chief of security. Because of that, Olympia's ending is different.
Dr. Olympia Miklos enjoyed the fact that so many murders had occurred in her museum, wishing only that she could have been the one to have discovered all the bodies.
As for Dr. Smith...
Since the dagger of Amun-Ra was not recovered, Dr. Patasheptut Tut Smith was forced to commit suicide with a fake dagger of Amun-Ra from the Leyendecker Museum gift shop.
What? Sam was impressed at us finding the murderer, but...
You remained skeptical about your abilities because you didn't find the dagger of Amun-Ra, which he assigned you to report on.
Which... Come on, that's not fair. He assigned us to write about the dagger's theft, not find it. Crodfaller was quietly smug about Laura's failure to find the dagger, and Sam lets Crodfaller finish the story. Instead of getting 60 years, O'Reilly only gets 50 years for the murders.
The judge was a friend of his.
Steve was quite impressed with our investigation, but there's no mention of him dating Laura. Laura's father is pleased, but less enthusiastic, and only takes Laura out to dinner to celebrate. As for the dagger...
After you gave it away, the dagger of Amun-Ra vanished. 20 years later, in 1946, it mysteriously appeared on the doorstep of the Cairo Museum in Egypt. There was human blood on the blade, as if it was some kind of a message.
After you gave it away, which we never did. Next, if you didn't get either of the first two endings, but you did answer questions 10 and 11 correctly, you'll get the ending where O'Reilly gets away, but the dagger is found. The coroner claims that,
based on my study of the bodies, you haven't presented any supporting evidence to connect your suspects with the murders you claim they committed.
Which is not entirely true. You could have all the evidence, but answer one of the questions wrong. The evidence wasn't the problem, it was your conclusions. And the coroner contradicts himself right after that.
Since you've interfered with physical evidence at the crime scenes, proof will be difficult to establish. You also neglected to thoroughly question all the suspects.
This makes it seem like you took too much, but if anything, the opposite is true. You didn't find enough evidence. This bit about thoroughly questioning the suspects is wrong too, because you don't have to interrogate them at all. All those hours you spent in Act 2, it doesn't matter. Your ending is only based on what you have in your inventory and how you answer the quiz questions. Of course, practically speaking, you have to ask questions to figure out those answers, but the game makes it sound like you have to painstakingly ask everyone about everything, which is just not true. As with the previous ending, the applause is tepid. Because we found the dagger, we get the scene at the docks with Steve. Yvette's sculpture is attributed to artist unknown since Laura didn't learn the killer's identity. Dr. Carter's spirit is pleased that you recovered the dagger.
However, he is not pleased that his murderer got away free, so he's going to haunt you for the rest of your life.
Wolf keeps his job as chief of security.
However, 1 week later he was found dead in his office, impaled by a broadsword that had fallen from his office wall.
After Wolf's death, Olympia returns to Greece to teach at the university in Athens. Sam assigns Laura to the food section of the newspaper, then dies in a mugging.
He blames you for his death.
Crodfaller eventually finds the murderer and wins the Pulitzer. O'Reilly continues his job, then retires to Tahiti 8 years later. He's amassed a small fortune by being frugal. As for Steve
Dorian was quite upset by the unfortunate event that happened to you later that night.
Wait, what? John still takes us out for dinner, and that's nice. But what's this?
After the unfortunate event that happened to you later that night, John spent the rest of his life in a mental institution in New Orleans.
You had your chance and you blew it, Lorabo. This is what happens to interfering reporters.
Finally, if you didn't get any of the previous endings, you'll get the worst one possible. No O'Reilly and no dagger. The coroner is even more direct about how badly you screwed up.
Miss Bow, please remember in the future that you're a reporter, not a detective. By interfering at crime scenes, you make it much more difficult for the police to do their jobs. Not only are your conclusions based on unfounded guesswork, you don't even have any evidence to back them up. By your presence at the murder scenes and your destruction of evidence, I'm tempted to conclude that you were the murderer.
Which, again, is not true. We didn't destroy any evidence. In the case of my playthrough, I had all the evidence. I just answered the questions creatively.
No, I think Steve was having a bad day. Yeah, he's really having a bad day.
In the worst ending, the coroner also says,
you neglected to thoroughly question all the suspects, and you missed important evidence at the crime scenes. Although you discovered the dagger of Amun-Ra, you have not arrived at conclusions about the theft that make any sense to me.
But then later, the newspaper says, dagger's still missing, and several slides in the ending montage mention the missing dagger as well.
Because of you, a murderer is running loose in this city, free to kill again. I hope you're proud of yourself, Miss Bow.
Carter's ending states that you didn't recover the dagger, and you didn't find his murderer, so he haunts you for the rest of your life. Wolf is fired, and a year later commits suicide in military fashion by falling on his sword. Olympia moves to Montana to become a paleontologist and discovers a new type of dinosaur. As in the second best ending, Tut Smith kills himself with a gift shop dagger. Sam Augustini fires Laura, then dies in a mugging, this time with the added detail that the mugging was done with a gift shop duplicate of the dagger of Amun-Ra. He still blames you for his death. As in the last ending, Crodfaller finds the killer himself, with the text this time noting that you were fired. O'Reilly is able to retire even earlier in this ending, 3 years instead of 8, and it's to Ireland instead of Tahiti. The dagger description is the same as in the second best ending, with the text insisting that Laura gave it away. Steve is still upset about what happens to Laura. As in the last ending, John is upset and spends the rest of his life in an institution, but here he doesn't even have dinner with Laura. Bummer. Oh yeah, Laura dies in this ending too. The Dagger of Amun-Ra is both better and worse than I remembered. It's janky, frustrating, buggy. The pacing's all over the place, and it's got plenty of dead man walking scenarios. Worst of all, the mystery in this mystery isn't a good one. Solving it requires an insane pixel hunt and weird leaps of logic. Most players are never going to solve it without a walkthrough. But the Dagger of Amun-Ra is also funnier than I remembered. Way funnier. I didn't remember Tubby at all from my childhood. Wolf's paranoia was frighteningly hilarious, and Olympia's death-obsessed quips had me in stitches.
How cute! Look at the tiny little mold colony. In time, it will totally consume the cheese, then die itself of starvation.
I like Laura as a character. She stands up for herself, and even when she's jealous for no reason, it's fun seeing her cop an attitude. The game's also brimming with atmosphere. The feeling of wandering around a spooky museum at night, not knowing what you might find around the corner, still holds up. The Dagger of Amun-Ra is a mess of a game, but it's a beautiful mess, and I just can't look away. Hey folks, thanks for watching. This video took a ton of time, so if you enjoyed it, consider joining my Patreon. You'll get access to exclusive videos like director's commentaries, and at higher levels, you'll get your name in the credits, like these fine people. I'm also a member of the adventure game HOTSPOT network. We're a loose collective of adventure game content creators, and member links are in the description. Thank you so much for watching, take care of yourself, and I'll see you in the next one.